Good morning. This is a regular meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court. 8th day of May 2014. It's now 8:30 a.m. As we do all meetings, we will start with a brief moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. I'd like to ask the Commissioners Court to lead us in those two pledges. Please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Public comment. Yes, sir.
I've got some public comment, that I wish to share with everyone here, and especially Commissioners Court. We had a gentleman pass away last Saturday, a resident of Precinct 3 of Cameron County. And I don't know the facts as far as who the oldest person in this county is, but this gentleman was 107 years old. And he lived a great life in the Laureles area. He was a farmer in that area. He has a family that precedes him that is extensive in our county. It was I always admired him because this gentleman came in from Mexico in his early years and became, to quote a friend of mine, a don of the area, He became Don Senor Vasquez, Reynaldo Vasquez. And I wish that we would keep that family in our prayers and thank God for someone that persevered in this life for so many years, and has a great legacy. He's got a number of sons and one daughter that are still in the area. But 107 years old is, as he said a year ago, kind of like 2 lifetimes. Also, I want to publicly thank the Brownsville Navigation District. Javier and myself were there from Cameron County. There was two itams on the agenda that were of huge importance to Commissioners Court and to the county, and they were the Bahia Grande project items. The presentation was done by Coastal Harbor, which is the group that our CF dollars went for to present to them. The Brownsville Navigation District passed both items unanimously in support of the project for the widening of the channel to increase the flow and the tidal exchange between the Bahia and the channel so that we can reduce the salinity of that area. It's really interesting because this particular project will increase the habitat of inhabitable area by over 880 acres. We're going to disturb about 30 because of where the disposal occurs on each side of the channel to make it wider. But it's going to restore 880 acres into good habitat for aquatic life, for fishing. And not only did they agree to lead the permitting process and to allow us to use 30 of their acres for the disposal of what is dredged, but they also wanted to be partners with the county in making sure that parking was provided so that we could have public access for fishing to that area. So it was really nice to be at the meeting and to hear from them. And they said, look, we had money set aside through a grant that Javier and Joe Vega had found, for parking on one side. They were willing to come up with money to build a parking on the other side if the county would do the work. And I says, well, all we need is interlocals, and that can be easily worked out. So that was very successful. Also, David Garcia and myself were in D.C. last week, and I think it's important to note that we traveled up there with the I-69 Alliance for that particular project. We had over 60 people at our meeting that included folks from South Texas to Port Lansing, Michigan. The message to the capital area was loud and clear as to what that particular corridor can do for freight movement and people movement, and the importance of it to the United States, to Canada, and to Mexico, and to the economy. But everywhere we went, the one question we got was, okay, so where's SpaceX? You know, SpaceX was at the forefront of every single individual that we ran into in DC. The impact that they foresee to our area and the relevance to our economy, and whatever it is we're doing here as a commission, as a community, as a region, we have everybody's sights on us, you know. And I just want to thank this Commissioner's Court because we've been at the table with these folks. We've been trying to do everything we can to make sure they come down here. And, you know, people up there are all ready for something big to happen in South Texas. And then there's another project that I'll put on the agenda for a later date that is looking to be a huge project for our area also. The Aurora Algae project I'll mention in the old shrimp farms in Rio Hondo. That project got a whole lot of attention from the White House people all the way down to our Congress people. There's numerous meetings that are occurring and will be occurring next week in regard to that particular project. And we'll have a presentation to Commissioner's Court in the near future.
Great.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
And they send their regards to Cornens and the
Everybody.
Ted Cruzes and all those folks, you know what I mean?
Likewise. All right. Any other public comment? Consent? Are there any items under consent anybody wish to discuss and pull out or table?
Item L,
L?
To pull out?
to pull out and discuss.
Okay.
Q?
Okay.
S?
That's okay. Pull out.
T,
T? T is in Tom?
T is in Tom.
Okay, got it. Pull out.
Double F,
X and Y?
Pull out. X, Y.
Is that double X and Y or
No, X and Y.
just X and Y?
Okay. I've been asked to table item M, as in Mary.
Table?
To table item M. To pull out item J as well.
Judge, I've been asked to, with regard to X and Y, to table Y.
Okay, to table, okay? Okay, so we'll still pull out item X, okay? That's all I have.
That's all I've got, Judge.
And just for the purpose of, no, we can wait, we can wait. All right, with the exception of those to be pulled out and/or tabled, do I hear a motion to approve all consent items as presented?
I think Martha might have to add.
I just have one comment, as an advisory to the court, that with the travel that's on today's agenda for approval, that we will be in the deficit by $9,100, so we will have to do a budget amendment on that.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, are you going to bring that back, though, at the next meeting with the budget amendment, depending on what travel items get? Okay. Yes,
Judge,
Javier?
could we pull out Q? I'm not sure if it was, okay.
Q to pull out, yes. If there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to approve consent as presented with the exception of the items I've already previously
So
discussed?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Item carries. Item J, consideration and possible approval of agreement with Government Record Services for imaging services for the County Clerk's Department.
Judge and Commissioners, I just asked you to pull this out because there is still some stuff that Joe Reyes needs to review. We would like to have it approved subject to Joe being okay with his part of the contract.
Joe, you're okay with that? Do I hear a motion to approve subject to Joe Reyes's blessings?
So moved.
Second.
by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, carries. Item I, consideration authorization to enter into a farm agreement between Cameron County and Edward Mathers, doing business as Mathers Family Partnership.
And that's item L, Judge?
No, that was item I.
L.
I'm sorry, L. L.
You need to add a
I-
little more to those glasses.
I pulled this one because I had a question. There's 110 acres and we're leasing it for $3,000. Is that correct? $3,850?
That is correct. Per year.
Is that the right amount of rent we should be getting for this, 110 acres?
That's better than what I get, but
And actually, it's a little bit lower, because this is an incorrect, I meant to, it's, I think, 2,850.
That's what it says there.
I'm sorry?
3,850?
2,000.
No, but
2,000.
it's 2,850.
This is a piece of property that we've been putting out for bid. We purchased the property, I think, for the Florida Mile Bridge, when we were ready to do the bridge, and so he was already leasing that area, and so we bid it out, and he's the only person that has ever submitted a bid. If the court wants to reject the bid, then they can do that. We bidded it out again, and he was the only person to submit a bid, and what he does is he farms the land.
Well, I was just curious, that looked like a really low amount for 110 acres. I think during hunting season, you probably make more than that leasing to hunters.
But we did bid this out, correct?
We did,
And that's the only one we got back?
yes.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
At the
Commissioner
correct
Gatsa?
amount, please.
At the $2,850?
Yeah.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, do I have a second? Second. By Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item Q, consideration and authorization to execute license agreement with Global Groove Events to hold the Isla del Sol event on Saturday, August the 30th at the North Flats located at Andy Bowie Park.
Javier's got a short presentation.
Yes, we have the promoters here, and we were trying to get a video on, just to kind of give you an idea of what they did. They did the concert for spring break this past spring break at Schlitterbahn. And just to give you an idea of how many ticket sales they made and so on. So what they want to do is they've kind of outgrown the area, and so they want to use the flats. We're trying to work out an agreement with them. We have the, I think we sent the draft to Dilbia. She's okay with it. The promoter is willing to pay the $5,000 as use or rent for the property, plus whatever we sell as far as the parking. We'd be in charge of the parking. Paul, you want to hand out any of those videos? We were trying to get a video just so you can get an idea, but the laptop didn't play it. But Paul, we can hand out these. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Paul McGee. I'm the CEO of Global Groove Events. I have a long-time history with South Padre Island, so I'm not new to the island, so please disregard the accent. I've been doing events successfully on South Padre Island for 20 years now. And what you're being handed now is a brief, in layman terms, summary of what we're trying to do, a little bit of the history of Global Groove Events and what we do on South Padre Island. We're currently trying to keep the Isla del Sol Fest going in its third year. We don't want to take it to anywhere else. As I said, we have a long history with South Padre, with the businesses, with the county and with the city. I spoke to the Chief of Police yesterday, and he would be willing to help organise traffic control in terms of doing the event and working hand in hand with the county, which we have in previous years with the UME Festival, which is an acronym for the Ultimate Music Experience. That attracted 51,000 people this year over 3 days during March 13th to the 15th. Unfortunately, the Isla del Sol is looking for a new home. over the last 2 years. It's been very successful. It's been well received, and due to unforeseen circumstances, we now have to move to a new home, and I can see no better place than the flats. It has a lot of history, dating back to Garth Brooks when he played on there, and I feel that we need to expose the flats again for a place that we can do not just this event but future events on the flats, bringing tourism to South Padre Island, and of course the economic wealth that would come from it, and bringing tourism, exposing South Padre Island, and bringing some of the best entertainment in the world. So that's what we're looking to do, a one-day event. We would be probably putting about $350,000 into the event, just so that you can see the magnitude. We'd be expecting around 8,000 people, and it would be a safe and secure environment. We'd be getting all our permits, we'd be outsourcing concessions, and we work with the best in the business. So if you have any questions, that's what we're looking for.
Any comments or questions? Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Judge,
Have you had
Commissioner,
anything?
I would just make sure that we clear everything with the Army Corps of Engineers. If there's,
Well, you know,
Yeah, don't build berms, okay?
Absolutely.
we had that one time.
I mean,
All right.
Move to approve.
second.
Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Item S,
The only
consideration.
thing that I had an issue with was the age group that you attract to your events. You know, you excluded all of us up here, okay?
Well, I was going to say that I do work with the State Farm Arena, but unfortunately, I'm not doing the George Strait show.
Okay.
I apologize.
All right.
You are more than welcome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Item S, consideration and approval of an interlocal agreement between Cameron County, Texas and the City of Los Fresnos related to the tax increment reinvestment zone number 1. We pulled this one out, Delbia. I think there's going to be a change in the actual document.
well, we had some questions that we needed the court to answer, and I'll leave it up to Frank.
There's a little bit of housekeeping here. This one got by us, but the city is in agreement. The payments would be annual as opposed to semi-annual. So that's one change that would need to be made at the request of the county auditor and the tax office.
Okay, we're going to have to change the agreement the way it's presented. I think the way it's presented
Right.
is a little bit different,
If you were to approve it, you could approve it
Subject to-
that
subject to the
change.
changes.
Now, here are some more substantive issues with the contract from a staff perspective. In prior agreements, and you have about 6 different ones out there with the cities, the court has agreed to participate at 100% for the first 15 years, or 50% for the life of the zone, sometimes up to 30 years. But in this agreement, the city is requesting 100% participation for the life of the zone, which is 24 years. So that's a substantial deviation from past county practice. Secondly, the city has indicated to me that part of the justification for the additional years of participation at 100% is that the zone would improve certain county roads. But the problem with that, again, from a staff perspective, is that those roads are not listed in the proposed plan, which outlines the improvements. So, those are policy decisions that need to be made by the court. We just need to point them out to you.
I think that the city, and Mark is here if you want to address it, I think what we need to do, and I think we briefly spoke a few weeks ago, is, maintain continuity and consistency with the other agreements that we've had with other entities. So, and something that I believe the city would want would be the 100% at 15 years. Mark, is that? Is that all right?
Or
Okay.
50% over the life, whatever.
Which one do you prefer, as long as we're
The
consistent?
15 years. is-
The 100% of 15 years, and then somehow include the language addressing these,
Annual?
annual,
Payments?
with these 2 roads.
And I would
Exactly,
like
we're
to
good with
see, I know that it says, on the document, it says street reconstruction. If we could add Whipple and Henderson on the document.
To be specific.
reflect that with those changes.
Okay?
That's good.
You okay with that?
Yes, sir.
So, do you want to bring it back, or do you want to approve it with
I'm
these
good if
changes?
you want to if you want to approve it subject to those changes to be made, I'm fine
We
with that.
okay?
Yeah,
Commissioner?
Well, I have
I don't
a
know.
question. What are the blighted areas?
There's a map. You see it?
Well, yeah, I see the map, but I don't know. I mean, that's Highway 100, and Highway 100 seems to be a pretty positive thing, but
Judge, Commissioners, the state of Texas is unique in that it is the only state in the United States that does not require blight for a tax increment reinvestment zone.
okay. So it doesn't have to be a blighted area.
No, it does not. It needs to be an area that needs to be developed or redeveloped.
Okay. Well, I'm just making sure, because when South Padre came, they're not a blighted area, and they didn't get their zone. I just want to make sure we're treating everybody the same.
Yes. No, the state of Texas, and I'll be glad to supply the language to the county attorney, is really unique in that sense that as long as the area needs to be developed or redeveloped, it's eligible to be in a tax increment reinvestment zone.
Okay, so basically anybody would qualify for an area that needs to be developed, right?
No, the language is it would not be developed but for the creation of the tax increment reinvestment zone. I believe the discussion on South Padre Island was the but-for language. Would the property on South Padre Island be developed but for? And it was, I think, the consensus of the Commissioners Court that the South Padre Island would be developed whether there was a tax increment reinvestment zone or not.
Let me ask you this, since we're going to be doing county roads, is there a way for the zone to pay the county to do those roads? Or, because that would be a cost savings, I think, rather than
That would-
hiring a private contractor.
Any work done in a tax increment reinvestment zone must comply with all of the bidding procedures of the municipality in which it's in, and the lowest qualified bid must be accepted, so there wouldn't be a difference between paying the county to do it and the city doing it.
I don't think we have the resources to do the kind of roads that they're looking at doing
What kind of roads are they going to do?
there. You know, substantial infrastructure, you know, not the kind that we do.
Oh, so the county roads that y'all are going to do, you're actually going to improve them beyond what they are?
Yeah, they're already, we already have 2-lane rural roads there in that area.
So you're going to do like 4-lane curb and gutter, turning lane?
Turning lane, 2-lane, it's a single lane each way, and shoulder right now, it's about a 20-foot wide pavement. It also crosses 3 Resacas, two of which are in the county area, one's in the city, so that's substantial difference in construction.
And are y'all going to annex the full road or still leave half the road to be county?
At some point, yes, I think we will.
That's the plan.
But just to be clear, because Commissioner mentioned curb and gutter, there's not going to be any curb and gutter on these streets, are there?
Probably not. We
Okay.
haven't decided. That's
Well, just
something that
to be
we'd have
clear.
to
All right.
all agree upon, because it would take a lot different animal for curb and gutter than.
Correct.
Well, but I asked that because Commissioner Garza said that y'all are going to be doing major
Substantial.
substantial improvements that we can't do as a county.
Yeah. I mean, those resacas, you know, you're talking about a lot of fill-in and a lot of probably permitting process, you know, all kinds of interesting stuff that goes
Okay.
on. And I don't think that we could, I'm sure we couldn't do that. I mean, it's,
And that's fine. I have these questions. We need to treat everybody the same when they come up here, and that's the only reason I ask those questions.
Absolutely.
Move to approve.
second.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa to approve
With those corrections.
with the corrections and/or adjustments to the agreement. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Excuse me, Judge, I just have one comment for the court on that.
Item almost carries.
On the TERS as approved. I just want the court to be aware that presently, the total county participation on all TERS, except for the RMA, is $37,954,000 over 15, 30-year period, and that doesn't include the RMA. with this particular one, once it goes through the process, it would be, the total participation from the county would be 41 million, not including the RMA. So just a comment to the court.
Where did you get that number from?
From the TERS agreements that have been approved by the court.
No,
That
no,
is
the increase,
The projections?
the
That
increase.
is the participation that's in the agreement where the total is capped at for the county participation.
Yeah, but you increased it from 30, what are we participating now?
Right now, the
37 plus.
participation is 37.9 million.
Oh, 30, I thought you said 33. Okay.
No, 37.9.
Yeah, because this is
Yeah.
33.2 million.
Yes, with this one, it would be 41 million.
Okay.
Not including the RMA TERS, so they're just an advisory comment to the court.
And I think we need to just keep in mind what the impact that the TERS are expected to do. So that number is really, may or may not be a true number, because I don't know if we're factoring in if there's any economic development along or in these TERSs, what it's going to do in the long range to us.
Right, this is only what the county has committed to participate.
Right, but-
The max.
Right, but,
Yes, it doesn't factor in any other issues.
right, doesn't
Correct.
factor any other thing that may come in and values assessed in other, okay, got
That's
it.
correct.
Thank you for the input.
Yeah, and that particular, it is based on economic development. I mean, that's the whole idea behind the TERS. The whole idea behind the TERS is to promote economic development of these areas that otherwise
Would not be-
get developed. In
Correct.
this particular case, there's a Walmart going in that area. There's the apartment complex going in back there. Is how many units? 280. 280 units. And those are, I mean, on this day, we're already having issues with that road as a county road because of the traffic that's occurring on it. We get constant weekly complaints of what 18-wheelers going to the work sites are doing already, and it hadn't even started yet, you know.
Wow.
So it's going to be, for Rio Hondo, you know, it's going to be like the northern development, that northern area is going to develop substantially if things go well with that apartment complex going in, or
Well, we have to keep in mind that the reason these TERSs that we're adopting and approving is because it's going to have an economic benefit to the county.
yeah.
It may be long-term, but it is an economic benefit in the long run.
And then they hopefully will be annexed in that area that they're partnering with us on in the street improvements.
Right.
So that will become their streets.
Okay, all right, thank you, Martha. I had a motion, a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item T, consideration authorization to award the bid, or the RFP, or the RFQ for the architectural services for the animal shelter in San Benito. Mike? Kind of walk us through the process for those that are not familiar with how, when it's kind of started and the process that the committee went through and the evaluation process.
Sure. The committee, and you have their names on your tabulation, they met, we received the initial scores of the proposals that were received. Of course, the committee decided or agreed that the top four scores firms would be invited to make a presentation to the committee, and ultimately the committee would then finalize their scoring, determine if there's any changes, post the presentations, and ultimately the scores would be tabulated and presented to Commissioners Court with their recommendation.
Questions?
The only question I had is, these two almost tied. I mean, you got .4 difference for the top two.
That's correct.
And to me, with a .4, you round down. So I call it,
There's two ways to look at it. If you look at the total score right above that, the numbers are actually the total for all the evaluators, which one would be 450 points, the other would be 452 total. So it is a 2-point difference total. Now, if you average, then you get into the .4 difference.
what if you take out the highest and lowest score? What happens?
You know, that would change everything. We haven't really done that. That's been entertained previously in the court, and that's something we've never done.
Okay. Well, I just had a question, because that one seemed like really, really close.
It would be the same if you take out the highest and the lowest in that case.
In that case?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you take the highest and the lowest in that case, in the firm that you're recommending would still be 2 points ahead of the other firm,
Okay.
you know, for whatever it's worth.
There's times, Commissioner, it may be 0.1 difference. but the
I just
number's
saw it really
pretty much
close,
the
I'm
same.
like, wow.
It's interesting.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez,
is
second by
here.
Commissioner Benavides. Discussion.
Did the visit to Laredo get made or not? Right. I know that Laredo's a good drive, but it might be, after we hire this firm, it might be a good idea that they at least get, you know, maybe documents so they can see that particular facility. You know, it's a facility that was built, you know, not in a very high-cost kind of way that serves that community very well, or it might be worth just taking a day trip. Okay? Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you, Gus.
Gus, just real quick, first of all, let me congratulate you all for the work that you did in selecting the firm. We did have 8 people, or 8 firms that participated, so that was a very good showing, and a very, very close scores. Now, from the next step now, you're going to negotiate with the company. Now, how much input, we briefly talked about getting people from the public, from the animal advocate groups, maybe to participate, you know, in this. Are you all still thinking about that?
We were looking into the Animals Issue Committee a little bit into it, but I believe that we need to get together this committee.
Well, I don't mean in the negotiation part. I think
Okay.
that's for us to do.
Right.
But once we get to the design, because I think Commissioner Gatsa had some thoughts about really how, and I think if we don't give the architects some kind of directions to look, this is what our budget is, this is what we want to do, they may go off and do something that is not really,
Well, I would recommend
Good
to
for
the
us.
court that us as county officials first meet with these architects, because this could go from something basic to something, because we all have different approach to things, and I believe that the way the county, we're looking at it is to go based on our needs and making it better.
anytime Javier gets up, it's never good news.
And that's one of the questions a lot of the firms had, was what is the budget for this project? And so we couldn't give them an answer because we don't know.
Correct.
It's, you know, anywhere from $500,000 to 1.5. And so they need to know from someone, what is it that we want them to design? And so, I mean, they'll design it, but they just need to know what they have to work with.
Okay.
So that needs to be decided.
Well, let me recommend this, if we can do this. When you all, after, because they're going to need a number in the negotiations, right? I mean, they're going to, in order. Yeah, yeah. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get together? I'm going to include Commissioner Gatsa and myself, since that's in his precinct. Let's get together, not next week, but maybe the week after, and kind of talk about, you know, what direction we want to go, and maybe even have some construction, some elevation ideas. Because you had some, I saw some that I looked at, and it was really just a bunch of, like we talked, just a bunch of garage doors with a nice metal roof, and I mean, really something that's workable for us.
Gus, I really think we should make that trip to Laredo.
Yes, sir, well, go ahead and.
One of the things that some of the firms that participated in the interviews mentioned was that they would put together an assessment, a field assessment of our area, current area, location that includes everything from the electrical, mechanical, plumbing, all the way to different conceptual designs that we want to see from our perspective, and then bring that to the people that are involved in this, and then also bring that to you all. And during that process, we're going to also probably take a couple of trips to see a couple of locations, where Gus is at least going to do that. So we'll get the ball rolling, include you all.
Well, let's do something week after next.
Okay.
Let's just kind of get together, or at least come by, and I'll get Commissioner Gatsa to come
If-
by, and we'll talk about that.
If you haven't seen it, in Harlingen, the Ag Building,
That they visited?
Okay, I mean, that's an amazing facility, and it has the big doors and big fans. I mean, gets the job done.
It's the same architect.
Oh, okay. Well,
And actually, that's one of the ones that we looked at that I believe that could turn into something very good for Cameron, because they have kind of the same ideas we have. So that's why my recommendation to the court would be for us to meet together, decide what we need to do before we start getting more people
Oh,
involved.
let's do that week after next. Set something
You
up.
know, and I don't know who E5 is on the evaluation committee, and I don't want to know, but I sure wish I would have had a professor like that when I was in school.
everybody got an A.
Everybody got an A, man.
We'll go ahead and send an email or something together so we can meet.
Whoever E5 is,
Thank you.
man, you know, I mean,
That's Humberto.
All right. All right, do I hear a motion to authorize the way it's presented on
So
the
moved.
agenda? Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item X, County Clerk Joe G. DeVetta traveled to Frisco, Texas on 6/21, 6/26 to attend the District Clerks Conference. Commissioner?
I move to table this item.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Gatsa to table. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so it dies for the table. So do I hear another motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Nay?
Nay.
Nay.
I
Okay.
just don't think that, you
It
know,
dies.
that trip to an annual county clerks convention is in the order since Mr. Rivera is no longer going to be in office.
Well,
At the end of the year,
if this court sets itself on treating everybody the same,
definitely.
That's correct.
and we're approved that for Ms. De La Garza.
No, we did not.
She's had travel
Well,
this year?
the item that was put on, that she had to go to the conference also was never put on. I talked to her and she said, it doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what we've done in the past. I mean, I just don't.
Well, to me, he's been our county clerk over 30 years. This is the annual conference for county clerks. He's still our county clerk till the end of the year. If we're not going to let him go, then we shouldn't let anybody go to any of their events.
I agree with you.
That's in the last year of their term or what?
No, to me, we shouldn't single him out because he's retiring from county clerk position.
But he wasn't.
What do you mean he wasn't?
You know, Aurora de la Garza had same agenda items and didn't make it on the agenda.
But she chose to take other travel, correct?
I don't remember.
Well, we've approved travel for Aurora, Martha, and she's traveled, and she's retiring this year, when we still approved it. Okay.
It got by.
Well, it
It got
didn't get
by
by. Judge,
No,
you
no.
probably shouldn't vote on this since he's your opponent in the general election.
Well, but we don't know if he's going to be my opponent in the general election, do we?
Well, I think we do.
Do we?
I think we do.
Is that an endorsement?
Judge, I'd like to bring something to the table.
Yeah.
I spoke to Mr. Rivera, and Mr. Rivera, and I know that the total amount is $1,700 to take this trip, but he wanted to let me know, so I would let you all know that the actual mileage of $639 and a couple of nights for the hotel will be picked up by the association. And so in actuality, it wouldn't be $1,714.
Well, and I'm going by what's on the agenda.
And I agree,
mean,
and I
that's all I'm
agree,
saying.
he may be leaving, but at the end of the day, he will not leave office until December 31st. So he will still be our county clerk. And I think we should honor it.
Well, I will compromise if he's not going to be, if they're going to pick up, you know.
Part of it? How much is
I
it?
don't have a problem with that.
Well, just alone on the mileage is $639, and the hotel room, it doesn't say how much per night, but it's $625 total.
Well, I'll approve everything except for those two pieces and vote in the affirmative.
We
Well,
would,
let's find out how much it is. How much is it? I mean, that we're,
1,200?
right, so what is the association picking up?
the mileage
The mileage
and a couple of the
and
nights.
part of the hotel stay.
2 of the 5 nights.
And the amount is? And they're picking up all the mileage?
All the mileage.
All the mileage.
Okay, that's $600 off the top. I mean, we're already in the deficit for travel. Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay, we'll bring it back. Make a motion a second.
Second.
With those two caveats, I'll support it.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, and I'm sorry, Benavides, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item F, double F, District Attorney's Office staff, investigators William Mitchell, Richard Gatza, Robert Basaldua, and analyst April Dominguez traveled to Temple, Arizona to attend the Cameron Kip Holmes 23rd Annual Southwest Border Money Laundering Conference.
I pulled this one because of the cost of it. It's $4,400, and I was wondering if maybe since this is money laundering, and typically with money laundering prosecution, you get a lot of forfeiture money. Maybe they'd agree to pay for this with forfeiture money.
This is being paid for by a grant.
Okay, so it's
Okay.
not hitting the.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Budget amendments, line item transfers under salary schedules.
Judge, Commissioners, you have the line item transfers in front of you for the Extension Office, Juvenile Probation, the Health Grant, the Trailer Augmentation Grant, Juvenile Probation, Mental Health, the Tobacco Grant Funding, Beach Safety Program, and the Bahia Grande Project, the County Airport, and then two health programs, and then the Parks Capital Projects. There are budget amendments for the Homeland Security Grant, for the Public Health Administration Grant, and for the Park Summer Program. There are also salary schedules for one of the health grants that started on April the 1st, and then you've got the salary schedule for Mental Health Care Navigation Program, and those are all budget neutral. They're
What page is that one on, Martha?
which one?
The navigation program?
The Mental Health Care Navigation Program, that's
Page 3.
the third page
Second
to the
last
last.
one.
Salary schedule.
Oh, okay.
That's a classification from a coordinator to a supervisor. No salary impact.
Okay, thank you.
For your approval.
Questions?
I already asked you.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Carries. Claims.
Claims are warrants number 320008 through 320709, warrants number 320711 through 320846, payroll for $1,740,910.96, ACH healthcare claims for $423,894.24. I would also read in a void on check number 320145. That's a check issued to AT&T that they never received, so we have reissued the check. There is also a check in there for Votech, and that check is for $61,000 and some odd dollars, and that is check number, it's a very second to the last check register that was processed yesterday. Let me find it here real quick. It's check number 320845. And the reason I bring this one up is because when this particular agreement or proposal was brought to court, it was brought to court in January, or I think it was April of 2012. And we paid the first initial payment that was due. This is the subsequent payment that is due for this fiscal year. However, when the agenda item was brought to court by the previous elections administrator, it was the agenda item worded that these particular costs would be paid by HAVA, could be paid by HAVA funding, and that the balance of the agreement would be paid by Fund 180, which are the election funds. This particular claim right here is being charged against general fund. We've reached out to the elections, and initially we had thought that there was no HAVA grant funding. So there is budget. They do have available budget in general fund. We do not have a signed agreement, and I don't know if Civil Department has been able to clarify that or not. This payment is being done on a 60-day proposal, which this court accepted and the judge signed, but late yesterday, we did not have the actual signed agreements.
We're still looking for them. However, this was approved. The judge did sign the one sheet that we were able to find. The invoice is for services that we have received for the past year, so it should be paid.
How much is it?
This particular check is for $61,435. The very first one, the first year initial payment was $122,000.
Yeah.
This is for maintenance of the system that we have, and it's a sole source. So it's the only company that can do this. And this is for payment of services that we received this last year on our system.
Was it budgeted?
Well, we did budget for it. It kind of rolled into the budget for FY14, so that's why funding is there. However,
We knew we had to pay it, basically.
we knew we had to pay it. However, my intent to the court is to let the court know that it is being paid out of general fund. There is budget for it. However, when the agenda item came to court initially, it was going to be paid out of HAVA funding, and the fact that we do not have we have a signed 60-day proposal back in 2012 that we're paying on. However, services are being provided and have been received, so I want to bring that up to the court.
So we shouldn't pay it out of general fund.
We don't have a choice.
Services have been received, and I don't know if Mr. Davis is here. Oh, he is, yeah. He can address if there is HAVA funding or not available.
Better come up with 61,000, Chris.
It ain't gonna happen. We're in maroon in this court.
Well, seeing that we may have one election less to administer now that I think you determine the result, we may have that funding now, Commissioner Sanchez. But no.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was good.
Marta is correct in that this was a 2012 contract. However, we have no more HAVA funding. HAVA funding is federally assigned funds that essentially dried up, but we have Chapter 19 funds, which are state-issued funds that cover voter registration costs and issues. This VOTEC software is specifically and explicitly that, voter registration software. We have reimbursement, as I explained to Javier, opportunities to help ease the pain and the relief of this general fund expenditure. This was, yes, something that my predecessor brought up before the court a couple of years ago, and it is an installment plan, sole source, as Marta said, and it's how we manage, maintain, and keep up our voter registration system, as well as qualify voters at election time when they come to vote.
But it wasn't in your budget for this year.
It was in our budget under the data management. It was, this installment payment was, to my understanding it was. I don't know.
It was. When their budget was turned in, then it was turned in with their knowledge that they were going to have to make this payment. However, when we started looking for the signed contracts and everything, that's when we found the agenda item and said, well, initially this was proposed from another funding source. So is it in their budget right now? Yes, okay. They do have money for it.
But it should have been budgeted to be a grant-funded item.
Correct, yes.
Can we still go back and look at recovering that money?
Yes, we can. We have Chapter 19 funds.
Okay,
We
so
just
we
don't
can-
have HAVA funds, so state-issued funds that we can recover
So, okay.
part, if not all.
Good.
So the court will approve payment of that claim subject to civil's approval on
Documents.
Correct.
documents.
And trying to get refunded from somewhere.
Correct. Anything else, Martha?
That's all, thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve claims as presented? Moved by
Second.
Commissioner
I'm sorry.
Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Carries. Minutes of April the 10th, 2014.
Judge, I move the
Do
table.
I hear a motion to table by Commissioner Gatsa?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Benavides. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item D, consideration and authorization to create a new court interpreter position within the district court's budget to be funded with the elimination of contract interpreter services. Is this a budget neutral item?
Actually, for the remainder of the year, there will be, there's a difference of about $5,000 because the
Negative or positive?
negative, it's short, because the contract individual was getting paid similar, including fringe benefits, but excluding the health insurance. And so there's that difference.
Okay.
So that's the difference. And then next year, I've been told, just to throw that out there, is that they'll be requesting all the court interpreters to be equalized with a court interpreter in the county courts at law salaries.
So he was making how much?
He was making what would be equivalent to the court interpreters within the district courts get paid including their fringe benefits, but not including the health insurance. So it comes out to $45,000, $50,000, something like that. And so he was getting paid 45. So, but switching him to an employee now, of course, he would be covered under the health insurance. And so we have to make up that difference.
So we're going from a 1099 to a W-2.
Correct.
And the difference is going to be just what our share of some of the health of the health benefits.
Correct.
What? He's married to one of the other interpreters.
I don't know that.
It's Alejandro, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, him and Julieta are married.
Okay.
Julieta's a county employee. It might be cheaper just to pay the extra what it would cost to give him family coverage than to do a whole coverage.
Well, but if he's a full-time employee, then he's eligible for free health insurance as a full-time county employee.
But what's
I mean,
it going
right-
to cost us
Well, I don't know that we could
to make him a
do
full-time
that.
employee?
I don't know. Oh, well, yeah, what's it going to cost us for that? But as far as treat him,
Why is this
different.
before us?
because they're asking to convert it from a...
Yeah, but why can't it be done like?
Because they don't have a
in the-
position. There's no position on the salary schedule for this court interpreter.
No. I mean, I'm saying, why can't this be done like as we do the budget process,
It could be. I mean, this is just a request that was submitted, and it's before y'all to decide.
Yeah, but I think what you've also indicated is that they're talking about treating all the interpreters the same, correct?
Correct.
How many interpreters are there?
Well, including this one, there's 3.
So
Okay.
there's 4 total.
Four
Okay,
total.
So are we talking about, to equalize everybody the way they'd like to do, $20,000
Well,
in the upcoming budget?
No,
It's gonna be like 40,000.
it's more than that.
Okay, that's what you said, you mentioned $5,000. so-
That's for this position, converting it. But if you recall, a few months back, you increased the county court at law position, I think it was by 15?
But that's still not filled.
It's still not filled.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're contracting with someone
correct.
to come interpret, a former interpreter that we had. But the problem here is that amount was raised so that we could get
Yeah,
someone to take the job, but no one wants to take it at that price. Interpreters make a lot more money elsewhere,
Private
so
sector.
it's not worth it to them.
I mean, it's going to be a request. I mean, I'm just pointing that out.
Well,
I mean,
but
it'll be addressed during the budget.
do you know at this point if all the interpreters want to be treated that way? Like what you said, they make more money in the private sector.
Well, this particular individual is asking to be converted to
Right,
to an employee.
but do you want to have, I mean, really, do they want to have one as a county employee, another one as an independent contractor? Depending on what, I mean, I don't know, I mean,
Well, by approving this would put them all as employees.
not all, just the ones that are requesting.
Well, the ones for.
No, there's only one.
There's only one that's on
It's an
contract.
independent contractor.
Right.
And I think what happened is, in years past, when you had a salary for interpreters, nobody would take the job. So he said, contractually, I'll do it for X amount. Well, now the interpreter salaries have increased, so he wants an increase as well. But instead of taking it in the form of increasing his contract, he's saying, make me an employee. But what I'm saying is, if these two are married and it's a $200 a month for 12 months, it's $2,400 versus 10 grand that it's going to cost us to make an employee, which all it's going to give him is health benefits. We're going to spend an extra $8,000 for nothing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
why don't we talk to him and ask
The only-
them?
Yeah, the other thing that he doesn't qualify is for the retirement. And so,
So he'll be getting retirement benefits as well then.
Correct,
Well-
as an employee.
That's part of the 9,000.
correct.
So it's not just health, it's health and retirement. Okay. Well, that changes
And
things.
vacation,
Correct.
and sick days.
And having to be there 8 to 5, because contractually, you just have to be available when they need you. Yeah.
I would visit with him before we.
Okay, what do y'all want to do?
Budget time?
Why don't we table it and we'll visit with them and see what the goal is, I guess? And maybe
Moved by
we can.
Commissioner Sanchez to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Discussion, Commissioner?
We just had it.
No, you want to continue? Are you okay?
No, that's fine.
All right, okay. All in to table, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item E, discussion and possible action on request from Sea Ranch Restaurant to set up a payment plan for the late fees owed.
Judge and Commissioners, just to let you know, I've also put this on executive session, should you feel you need to go into executive session.
Javier?
Judge, Commissioners, the Bob Friedman from Sea Ranch Restaurant has requested, see if we can set him up on a payment plan for the late fees.
How much
for
are the late fees now?
$2,000.
And he wants a payment plan for what, like,
Well, he wants to pay him at the end of the summer, which is when he would generate some extra income.
the only thing is, look, when we start doing this, is that you start setting a precedent for anybody else that, is late a few days or whatever. So whatever we do here,
But have we done that though for the other guy that does the umbrellas?
Yeah, we have done this before.
yeah. As long as I just remember that we do that. So he wants to defer the $2,100 in late fees until the end of the summer?
Until the end of the
And
summer.
then pay it with his regular installment?
Right, what I was thinking is that he'd pay $1,000 in July and $1,000 in August.
Oh, I see. So it's not wait till the end, just do it all?
Right.
And he's okay with that?
Yeah, he's okay with
Does
that.
that include, like the other late payments that were, or did we just kind of like wash those off?
No.
These are the cumulative late payments, right?
Yes.
Martha?
Which is how much?
Well, the cumulative late payments for year ending as of 2012 were $15,100, and for the prior year, they were, as of 13, there were $15,001.
Why, hold on, let me time out. Why don't we just wait till we discuss it in executive session and then we can bring it up later? Dobia? Because you put it on for executive session, right? Does it need some legal counseling? Okay.
I mean, it's just, we're just talking numbers, and so I want to know how we got from the 2,100, because what I'm hearing, a totally higher number than the $2,100.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers that Martha got, but the numbers that we...
Speak into the mic, please, I can't hear.
The numbers that I was provided by the clerks was 2,000, and what I guess was from this year, which was the percentage payment, which was due in January.
How much is he late?
In late payments?
And late payments.
You mean late fees?
In late
Late
payments, for
fees.
payments that were due in
Late
2000.
fees.
Late fees would be $32,200.
And that's what he's
And
proposing that we
he'll
wait?
pay at the end of the summer, that amount?
Well, the only thing I spoke to him about was the $2,000, the 15 for...
The $15,000 that were due as of, on a payment that was due on November 30th of 11, that. to my-
2011?
2011. That,
Why
to
is it
my
just-
knowledge,
It was
was
2011,
never,
2012.
was never assessed or.
How about
It was never
2012?
paid. 2012 was not paid either, and that was 15,000.
Are you saying that they were assessed but never paid?
No, I'm saying to my knowledge, they were never assessed
Okay.
and they were not paid.
Well, he's not going to pay unless they're assessed, so I guess the question is, why weren't they assessed? I mean, now we're coming back 3 years later and say, hey, you owe us some late penalties from 2.5 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I need to look into that. I think we brought this back before, I don't remember what year, where we did the exact same thing for him. We not waived the fee, but we, what do you call it, abated or?
Yeah, we deferred the payment.
Deferred.
Okay, but what I'm hearing now is that, let's say we agreed to defer the payment, did anybody ever send him a bill for that, or talk to him about it? Because now what I'm hearing is that even though we deferred it 3 years ago, today hasn't been paid.
These actual circumstances came about because we are auditing the concessionaire agreements, and that's how we came upon this information, that these payments were being received late, and there was no late fee being assessed, and the contractual obligations were not being met.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're doing this, you went back and audited the concessionaire agreements. You found that the payments back then were late. We're whole in terms of the, let's call it principal, of the principal
Yes.
payments, but no late fees were assessed back then by us.
Well, there were no late fees paid, and then the contract calls for late fees to be
Correct.
paid.
Well, but
and
we didn't assess them.
we
So
never
we just
found
need to
them.
send them a bill, is what you're saying?
I would presume, yes. I don't know if in the contract agreement I did not see any time frame to where the county could or could not go back for the prior years. I didn't see that.
Well, why don't we
here.
do this? I mean, I think we have a whole other issue here. Why don't we, if the court would like, approve the $2,100 issue for...
Why don't we table it?
The whole thing?
Table everything till we figure out what they owe us and what they intend on paying, because maybe they know they owe us, and maybe they know they've got to pay, and that's why they're at, because $2,000, I mean, this is the Sea Ranch restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
They make that in an hour. So, well, I mean, they do well.
I'm not going to say anything.
Have you ever eaten there, Judge?
They're good tenants.
Several times.
They're great tenants.
But I don't spend $2,100 in an hour.
Well, not you, but with 100 people in the restaurant, and everybody's
what you mean.
$20 check.
Well, we have a couple of choices. One, we table the whole thing, or one, move forward and approve the $2,100 while somebody, I guess, sends them a bill or talks to them. I think they're going to be somewhat surprised if they get a bill for late fees that go back 3 years. I certainly would, and not knowing. I mean,
And when did we discover this?
My auditor, Guillermo Cermeno, the one that is assigned to work to audit the parks, just arrived. And the court is asking when this fact came about that Sea Ranch had not paid the late fees.
I started working on this 3 weeks ago, more or less, and it came about last week.
Okay, you didn't audit them last year? You didn't find this out last year?
No, I did not audit it.
Have we ever audited them?
I'm sorry?
Have we ever audited them?
I don't believe the concessionaire agreements have been reviewed before. I know that Guillermo had to put a file together and research from different sources, trying to find all the concessionaire agreements that are in place to begin with.
So we've audited the Parks Department, just not the concession agreements?
The concession agreements have not been looked at independently to make sure that all the contractual obligations are being met. This is a different scope of the parks that we are reviewing now.
So
Okay.
you just did receivables, basically,
Yes.
in the
mhm.
past? Javier,
Okay.
you don't do that, you don't look at that kind of stuff?
Not in detail as far as checking up, making sure that, they pay. The clerks would generally tell me, or the manager would generally tell me, this person has not paid, we need to collect. And we do call them. We'll call the concessionaires and tell them. that they owe us so many, so many days of late fees.
How many concessionaire agreements do you have? You know, I mean, just a ballpark figure,
We have about 15.
15. And do you have a person assigned to kind of,
We do, for example, like the manager for Isla Blanca will be in charge of the ones for Isla Blanca, and then we have the ones for Andy Bowie, which the manager there is in charge of those.
And who's in charge of these?
I'm sorry?
Who's in charge of Sea Ranch?
The park manager from Isla Blanca.
Isla
which is
Blanca?
Pete.
Okay, and do you have an auditing system there, or do you just rely on the auditor's office?
I think that I need to get with him, but I believe he reviews those, and he may depend a lot of it on the auditors if they bring it to his attention.
Now, do the payments come to you, or do they come to the auditor's office?
No, they come to us. And what we did a couple of months ago, because I wanted to make sure that there was other things for the concession that we were reviewing and assessing. It was like the insurance and everything else. I asked our park managers to make sure that, to come up with a schedule to see when the insurance were due, when their payments were due, and when their percentages are due. Because before they used to all come in at the same time, but now they vary. It depends on the concession when their percentage payment is due. But their base rent payment is due the same day every month. And we give them a 10-day grace period.
Okay. Well, we probably should table this and then go back and figure out, because I was looking at a document Commissioner Garza showed me, and it shows like $30,000 in...
well, that was the email that you sent out, Martha,
It
too.
was emailed to all members of the court.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's $30,000 that we should have collected that we haven't, that we probably still can.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I just noticed it right now.
I'll forward it to you.
I could have been prepared and looked back and, see what we have in our office as far as, there was any explanations as far as what they owe or what they don't owe.
Okay, because if that money's owed, then we either need to collect it or forgive it or do something, but it'll stay outstanding, right, Martha?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it needs to be action by Commissioner's Court of some sort.
Yes.
So,
And in the meantime, I would suggest and encourage you, Javier, if you got 15 agreements out there, we're all held accountable. I talked to a friend of mine yesterday that had his lights turned off because his credit card was canceled, with not much notice. So, we need to,
Question. So you actually, for the first time, went ahead and I wouldn't say audited, but you guess you audited the concessionaire agreement to see if the terms and conditions had been met. Okay? And in that, you had the date the payment was made, and you read the agreement, and it said X amount of penalties if paid after. You said there's a 10-day grace period, so which means that on the 11th day, it became delinquent. And that's when the penalty was assessed. So these numbers aren't even shown. You're shaking your head no. No? That's not what happened? I'm trying to figure out how this happened, because that means that the receivable is not set up. And so when you've been audited receivables in the past, these late payments or late fees are not included as a receivable, or else you would have collected it. Now I hear the head shaking.
But there is, in the contract that we have that has been reviewed, there is no 10-day grace period. The payment is due on this day, period.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm hearing that now, and I'm hearing now. So if there is a 10-day grace period, where did you get the 10-day grace period from that, Javier?
That's what we have on all our agreements. We give them a 10-day grace period for them to make their monthly rental payment.
like if it's due on the 1st, you have till the 10th.
They have till the 10th.
With no penalty.
No penalty.
Okay.
And after the 10th, there's a penalty.
Okay, so let me ask a question then. Then the payments that you audited, did they come in on or before the 10th when the payment was due? You have to go back, Guillermo, and figure that out, because if it's before and Javier is telling us there's a 10-day grace period, they may think there's a 10-day grace period, so in essence, they don't believe they owe anything, but you're saying there's nothing in the contract or in the concessionaire agreement that allows for that. So I want to know if the payments that you saw were within those 10 days. If there is within those 10 days, then there may be a dispute and they don't owe it.
The only payment that would come in within, that came in within the 10-day grace period would be, as Parks, as Javier has stated, was the one that was due on February the 28th of 14, and that was received on March the 3rd of 14.
I'm talking about the other ones, so go back to 2011.
None of the other ones came in within the 10-day grace period.
Okay, so they were all outside of the 10-day grace period?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, well, I had a motion to table by Commissioner Sanchez already and seconded by Commissioner Benavides to table the item, and I guess go back and figure out what it is that they owe, and I think you need to let them know. Okay? He's going to freak out.
And the other thing is, on the 10-day grace period, let's isolate that and make sure it either is or isn't there. And if it's not there and we want to do that, make it a reality by putting it in writing.
Okay. Had a motion to table. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, carries. Item E, discussion and action on request. No, that was already it. So there's a motion by Commissioner Sanchez, seconded by Commissioner Benavides to table item E. Item F, consideration approval to create a new position titled Odyssey Network Administrator. The position will fall under the Computer Information Services Department. Arnold, I've been asked that we table this item, but do you want to just elaborate a little bit on what you're doing before we table it?
Yeah, this, last Commissioners Court, I gave a report on the Odyssey Conference, and we talked about this particular issue as well. Talked about having a network administrator to oversee all of Odyssey's operation, the network side, as well as the subject matter experts that we have in the various departments, and kind of be that person that main person in between Tyler Technologies and our end users within our Cameron County network. So.
I got an email.
Right.
That I forwarded to you from Judge Sally Gonzalez.
Exactly.
You got it?
Yes, I have it here. Matter of fact,
We all got it.
Did y'all read it?
Yes.
No,
We
yes.
met with and Commissioner met with him too, Rick Rubio from El Paso County. And in the conversation that we had with him, and lengthy ones back in April, they're not really experiencing any of these issues that are referenced here in the article from February. So I think they've either corrected those issues or have taken steps to eliminate any of those issues or problems. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think there were
Rubio is a big proponent of how things were working great and how governance is important.
Yes.
And I think when this occurred, they were probably working without any governance structure. Since then, governance was put in place, and I think everything else has fallen into place.
right, everything exactly.
So I don't know that those are his opinions today, or maybe there's a miscommunication.
Well, I think that particular article is dated back in February, and I think from February to April, they made some changes that positive ones, and the system seems to be working rather well in El Paso County. So, matter of fact, that's what he kept, because I was in a couple of sessions where he spoke, and that was the message from him to everybody else.
When I read this, I was a little surprised because I had heard him speak at the conference, and that wasn't the message he was conveying at the conference.
Well, and that's what disturbs me about this email. It goes on and really makes some numerous inaccurate commentary. And I guess the question, Arnold, is, are other departments having problems with Odyssey? Is it just one? Is it, because I'm hearing from numerous departments that it's working well.
Right, and it is. There's like with anything else, we have glitches.
No, but look, I get, all of us get emails frequently from from that, you know, from Judge Gonzalez about all these issues that they're having and problems that they're having. Now, are other JPs having the same problems? They're just not communicating it to us, or are they not?
I asked Liz Liz Chavez that question, and her response to me, the problem that we have with our JP courts is at the I guess the end user level, where business practices are
You
the
mean
actual problem.
at the
How
end
they
user
actually-
or at the input
Well,
level?
Our employee that uses the system. Input level.
It's at the input level, not the end, I mean,
Right.
I just want to be clear, that the problems we're having are at that specific, or
Right,
those
and they're-
specific
And they're
offices.
business practices in nature. So it's that every JP office has a different business practice and different way of doing things. So they've been taught or instructed to do things a certain way. What we're working on is retraining these individuals to where we have one set of business practices for all JP courts. That way there's not different people doing different things, and we have, everybody enters data the same way. And it all starts, if for whatever reason, when we book an inmate and they enter the data wrong at that level, it's gonna trickle all the way down through the system.
It's called garbage in, garbage out.
Right, so it's gonna go all the way down, and that info has to flow back and forth. So if we get everybody on the same page, entering data all one way, that solves a lot of the issues. But the issue in the JP court is strictly users that are either new and unfamiliar with weren't here when we initially did the JP training a year ago, but are here now, need to be retrained or taught their actual business practices.
So I guess let me ask.
Well, there's several, Judge. That's one thing. Another thing is, we've had network issues, which creates the system to go down. So that's going to be a complaint.
Right.
Another issue is, in the JP courts, we had two different types of software programs. So Hamer was one program, and they put in everything on their citations a certain way. NetData was a different program. They put them in a different way. It was information that's like kind, a defendant, their accusation, whatever, but they're not the same. Well, Odyssey's a new program, and you have to migrate this information into Odyssey. You've got to migrate this information into Odyssey. So you have to build two bridges. That's one challenge. The other challenge is, if the information that was here isn't the same as the information that was here, then when you migrate them into the new system, you're going to have a big mess. It's a traffic jam. So you have to go back and fix whatever the configuration was on how information was coming here and put into the new system. Until that gets done, then you're going to have problems. So there's several levels of problems why the JPs are having their issues, but it's not necessarily Odyssey that doesn't work. Another issue that we created, and I told Mr. Spence, the guy that works with Odyssey, I said, next time you go into a county, don't give them choices. I said, your JP system works in Collin County, and it works very well. Take that system and say, this is what we have. I said, because you as a provider want to give options to a consumer, but when you have a consumer that has 6 or 7 different JPs and everybody does it different and they want to create their own program, that's chaos. When you give them a program and say, here, use this, it works, it's going to work a lot easier. Right.
Well, I understand all that, but my question goes back. Are all the JPs experiencing the same problems? And then why isn't that being communicated to us if they are? The only one I ever get is from Judge Gonzalez.
And a lot of the problems that JPs are having, we're handling them at
Well, but hold on, but you're saying JPs plural.
Right.
But the only complaint that I ever see is from Judge Gonzalez. I have yet to see another complaint from any other JP, or quite frankly, any other office
Right,
that's using Odyssey.
And Judge Gonzalez's court has been very vocal, but they've been very vocal, I think, since 2008, with them not wanting to initially participate.
Well, but hold on, let's go back. I want to go back. Are other JPs having the same issues that Judge Gonzalez is having?
I think they are.
Okay, so they're just not vocalizing it to us? Are they?
think so.
And why is that? Because the way it sounds, and everybody, is that, you've got one JP that's very vocal and complaining, and yet nobody else is saying anything, so I think, well, maybe it's just her.
Well, the issue is that what they're complaining about is minor in nature, and we've addressed that at staff levels, and Liz has worked with the JP offices to correct a lot of the issues that they're complaining about. They just, from what I've read in the emails, they take every single issue that comes to the table and make it into this large, huge problem that for the most part, and Joe here can tell you, we take care of the issues. By the time the email is sent and read by all of you all, we've already corrected the problem or put a plan in place to correct the problem. So it's not, the
Well, let me
issues
tell you
they're bringing
then,
up are not that big.
then let me go back to Joe. I said, Joe, when this happens, where exactly what Arnold is talking about, where by the time the complaint makes the internet routes, it's already corrected, you need to send back, and I think you've done some, you send back everybody that got copied on that email with the problem needs to get copied back that the problem's been fixed.
Yes, sir, and what we mainly do is, like...
Yeah, and he does a lot.
All of the trouble tickets from the JPs go to Liz, and she's doing her best. Sometimes it's a procedural issue she's resolving. She has to go back, clear some entries, and a lot of those are handled at her level. The big ones that they put out that mass email on, as soon as we get them, if we can't handle them internally, escalate a ticket, that's when I fire off that email to everybody and advise them what's going on. From our discussions in the past, Arnold's told me, if it goes out to everybody, send everybody a reply back. Keep everybody in loop, and that's what we've been doing successfully for a while now.
Okay.
So would you agree, Arnold and Joe, that at the end of the day, while, the issues that the JPs are having were not only caused by Odyssey and by the end user or the person inputting the information, but it was also our servers and our, whatever you call it, the system that we had, they were just not compatible. Is that the case?
Correct.
Okay, and I think this is where Judge Gonzalez just doesn't want to accept it, I get emails, and I'm sure you all do too, and I do not appreciate it. If I sent anybody, any of my peers, an email and I'm upset, I don't think they would appreciate it. If I capitalize it, I get this from her clerks. I don't appreciate that. I realize and maybe she can take me on, but I do not appreciate the lack of respect that's coming from that office to any one of us or to any one of you all. So I think we finally discovered the fact that we had problems with our servers and everything else that needed to be compatible with Tyler.
Yeah,
And now we're making every effort to come together. But, when you get nasty emails like this, I don't appreciate it at all, because she's made it very, very obvious that she was against Tyler, and she was for net data. That's her bottom line.
And we've made tremendous progress moving forward with Odyssey. Last year we did a lot of, we made huge investments to update our network and our system to make sure that we can maximize the use of our Odyssey program, of our investment. We've done that. I know with Liz, I think we're looking at maybe in June having additional training for the staff that's there now, setting that up so they can understand the business practices, learn them, also how they enter data in Odyssey, kind of retrain them. We have the money to do that, and we have that set up coming up for those employees. So a lot of the issues that we have, I know this week was tough. Joe was working all weekend trying to get our network back on, but the entire network in the county, not just Odyssey. I know I got your email about Odyssey was down, but the entire network, and especially in our judicial building, was down for about 2 days, right? About a day and a half, where they couldn't process emails or anything like that. So they were having to run their dockets manually and so forth. But we had a power surge from PUB. We had issues that were out of our control. And sometimes it brings down the system. And we don't appreciate them when they happen, right? Because it makes everything, puts everything to standstill. But those are things that are out of control or out of our control, and we just need to address them as they come up. But we fixed it. The Odyssey seems to be running well. It had been for the last week and a half. Prior to that, the steps that we talked about to correct some of the issues we had with Odyssey, where we reallocated some funds to address those issues, are being addressed, and we're working on that with the engineers and with Microsoft. So very optimistic that our network will be set up the way it needs to be and be operating the way it needs to be to move forward with Odyssey.
Judge, along those lines, I know that Judge Migdalia Lopez and I started with the original IT committee, but I know that Commissioner Sanchez understands this a lot better than I do, and at this point, I would like to ask the court to consider that he take my place on the IT committee.
Sure, if he wants to do that. You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. Got it.
Well, I think one thing that needs to be said is, you know, it's not so much Odyssey initially that was a problem also. It was our antiquated equipment that we had. And I know that, Joe, you've been asking for updates since, I know that department's been asking since 2000 that I was here. And every year we scaled back their request. Finally, last year, this court put about $1 million into updating equipment that should have been updated a long time ago. And that was a Band-Aid fix, not a full fix, you know. So these issues that keep coming about, in essence, have allowed your department to improve the quality of what we're utilizing.
Yes, sir.
You know, the computers, everybody's got the new Windows programs now that are fully integratable and functional. And, you know, I mean, I got an update from Apple on the software to fix bugs and improve how it works 3 days ago. iOS 0.71, whatever, okay? So I update my phone. So, you know, updating software and doing improvements to software is like a daily occurrence for any software program.
As a matter of fact,
that it's
Commissioner,
worth their salt. If they're not doing updates to your software programs, I would be concerned because they've got to, you know, do the bug fixes.
we just went through, we just finished testing on several upgrades and updates to the Odyssey system in the various departments to enhance their operation.
Right.
And I think we just finished testing and we should be rolling out with those in the next week or
I
so.
mean, it's normal
But it happens
work
tomorrow.
you know.
Well, the enhancements to IT go back to the 90s when different directors have been here asking us for upgrades. And like I've said, there's no romance in IT upgrades. And if you're not building roads or giving employees raises or creating new positions, the IT department, just much like the auditor's office, you know, they get kind of, you know, sidelined because it's one of those things that we have to do, but we're not willing to pay for it. I know Martha's been asking for numerous people every year, and she'll probably come back again and ask for another couple of folks, and we need to do that. We need to fund these things as best we can within the parameters that we've got.
Right.
Okay, so then you're going to respond, or is there any need to respond to her email? One of the things that
I
she
can
talks
respond.
about
I
is,
don't know if you-
well, I guess just, I mean, you know, she was kind enough to send the email to a lot of folks, and I think it's important to look at it. I think, you know, you visited with this fellow from El Paso. You did as well, and this article was dated February the 14th or 17th. You know, it's an old article, but she makes it sound like it's happening right now, and the $5.2 million that they spent, and
I'll reach out to Rick, and he can give me another update on where they're at with their system, what they're doing.
you know, I think that's important. I think if other JPs are having problems, I think you need to reach out to them as well, because the only one that seems to be expressing concerns pretty vocally is Sally Gonzalez. So,
And I think she references here too about, you know, hiring additional personnel and things of that nature. Our IT staff is undermanned by about half in comparison to the counties that are operating that are, you know, of our size. And so we need to also be mindful of that we've overloaded them with, we have about 1,000 or 1,100 computer users in the county and about 700 or 800 Odyssey users in the county. So we've kind of put a tremendous load on them to I guess, handle both our systems that run here in the county.
okay.
Just to be mindful of that.
All right, do I hear a motion then?
And I think that another reference in the email is that we don't give raises to anyone or have not given raises.
Right.
In the last years.
And I think that,
I think we just
you know,
got
that's
one.
inaccurate because the last I remembered, I know last year we did, and this last year again we did.
We've done 3 years in a row where we've given increases in compensation.
They haven't been large increases, but there've been increases. And I think more than anything, she saw that there was item.
The one we're tabling,
E?
probably.
It's
The
F.
one- No, F. Item F on there. And, you know, she's got hardworking clerks, there's no doubt about it. And for her, it's a little probably discerning to see, well, you're gonna create another position over here, and my clerks are working to the bone, and they don't make enough. So I understand where she's coming from, but what she probably doesn't realize is by us creating this new position, it's gonna make work easier for her clerks.
And we've also put processes in place to ease that workload. There's redundancies in JP 5.1 that aren't seen in the other JP courts because they're utilizing the other tools. They're working with the county clerk's office. They're doing what they need to do to eliminate some of that excess work and be able to handle what they need to do within their department.
I know that I visited with the offices in my precinct, as far as JP offices, and everyone has been very complimentary of the service provided by Joe, by your department in regards to issues, and they don't even call them problems. They have a little issue that comes up, we call, we get it taken care of, and we move on. But no one from those offices is complaining of having major problems. As a matter of fact, on the contrary, they like the system.
Well, that's why I asked.
You know.
That's why I asked that question.
So.
Okay. So I had a motion.
Well, I think I think we talked about this, and we'd like to possibly table this one and bring it back with some changes at a later date.
Okay.
And I would like for you to bring those changes in regards to the department, you know, to the, not necessarily Odyssey Network Administrator only, but the Computer Information Services Department.
Okay.
Okay?
Would you like that, when do you want me to bring that back? The next Commissioner's
whenever
Court? or-
you're-
Whenever you're ready.
Okay,
All
we'll
right.
do that.
Commissioner Gatsa, table?
Move the table.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, item carries. Item G, consideration authorization to prohibit any outside business or individual from providing car washes or like services on Cameron County property, including but not limited to parking lots used by Cameron County employees. Let's talk about that. And
What are
we're,
like services before you go any further?
I have no idea what like services are. I guess maybe waxing cars? I don't know.
Last week, we had a meeting.
What is a like service?
I guess,
You're going to use it as a catch-22.
right, it's, I know I was talking with Beto right now, that people go in there and replace windshields. Is that part of like service or not? You know, I think Safe Light comes and they'll do it there and or
Yeah,
fix
but
cracks
you
of that
know,
nature.
I mean, those services allows that service to occur there without our employees having to leave work.
Right,
So
exactly.
like, we benefit from these things.
Yes, yeah, we do, and I think in this particular, what we were looking at is some of our elected officials or department heads have raised some concerns regarding some of the safety of the employees there in the parking lot with certain individuals that are there washing cars or kind of hanging around our administration buildings, utilizing our facilities. I think one mentioned that using them to shower or to bathe or something
So
like
is it the
that.
people doing the car washes that are using the building to shower?
From my understanding, yes. From what I got from that meeting that we
Well, the
had.
way, look, what happened, I think the issue was not so much the washing of the vehicles and the like services. I think the issue was that some of the employees or visitors were complaining that they were being unduly harassed by some of these people. Basically, you know, to have their car washed, and if they didn't, they would kind of follow them into the building, that kind of, that's what we're being told. So the reason that this is up is, what do we do to try to curb it or control it? There's some good people that wash cars, don't bother anybody, but you may have others that kind of encroach on, and those are the problem.
And I don't know how the county wanted, Commissioners, Judge, I don't know if you want to, if we want to go through like a bidding process,
Well,
or we
look,
can
I think-
allow a certain company to come in and offer these types of services.
Some of these folks wash cars throughout the, downtown, in city parking lots, et cetera. But I think the like service, what do we do if somebody parks a car and starts selling either wares or food or something out of a parking lot?
Because that's a city ordinance.
No, I don't know. I don't know if the
Sell food
city,
out of a car?
But if they have a permit, if they go to the health permit, they go all that, and they
Like a
set up a little.
mobile- like a mobile-
Yeah, like a mobile, elote stand or
Ricos
something like that.
elotes.
You know, I mean, food trucks are
Chile,
a thing of the
mayonesa.
in thing nowadays, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
and I think that's why we're gonna put this on, to see, I mean, is it something that we would approve?
Can we stop people from washing cars, I mean, in a public place? I don't think we can stop them.
That's a legal issue, and I don't know, that's why it's on.
Can we?
I mean,
I think
we
you
don't, we can't create an ordinance, right? I mean, can we pass an ordinance?
We don't have
Yeah,
that.
we have very, very, very limited ordinance power, but we have some order power here, and if we have a legitimate public purpose that we're concerned about, and there's a certain safety risk or health risk associated with this activity, then yeah, we could do something about it. You know, it's just a matter of putting something together, order-wise, that would take care of it.
This is
It's
placed
not
on the
gonna be
agenda.
easy. It won't be
Because we
easy.
were asked to place it on the agenda because the administrative building is where the issue is. There's no security walking into that building. You don't have metal detectors like you do on the judicial side. The complaint was that you have, some people that are washing cars, maybe not all of them, that enter into the building on a regular basis to use the bathroom facilities to basically almost bathe, in the bathroom facilities. They go up to the second floor.
That's a different issue altogether.
Well, they're one in the same, because some of the people that do it are the same ones that are washing cars.
Well, but if that's a health issue, like Bruce said, then maybe you could call the constable to come over and say, hey.
Well, there's another item on the agenda to talk about that, and that's why Robert Letty, we've had this issue for a long, long time. You want to?
I believe the people that are bathing on the second floor, they're the homeless. And we've had this going on now for a while. It's been brought to my attention. It's very difficult because you're talking about a homeless man who walks in there very ill. He does go in there, and I understand from my other clerks, the male clerks, that he is washing himself, and he exits the building. He's not trouble, but
He's not a car washer, though.
no, sir, he's not. My question also is about car washing, is where they're getting the water from to wash the
From
cars.
a little bucket.
But where's the water coming from?
I think from Bobby Letterman's office.
But
I've seen him over there.
But hopefully with, I saw on the agenda that the constable is requesting an additional officer. Maybe that'll alleviate the problems that we were having with the stuff that was going on, stealing of the cars, other things. And we were getting harassed by the car washers. They come to you and they want to wash your car, and if you don't have them wash your car, you come in and there's a scratch on your car. I can't say it was them, but it has happened, and I've had people come up to the office and say, customers say, you know what, they're out there and I feel threatened, and so what do you do? They're just trying to make a living, and I understand.
Well, that's why it's on the agenda, to see where the
But
court wants to go with it.
hopefully, if the constable gets a deputy, that is strictly for the administrative building. That was one of my questions also, is will this deputy be housed in our building also? Because if he's going to be on the other side, well, I think it defeats the purpose too.
So then I have a
Okay.
question when you say that, Ms. Perez, because for everybody's information, just a block down, we have the Good Neighbor Settlement House, which allows people that are homeless to go in there and shower or bathe, and then they're also fed food 3 times a day. But, so this is going to alleviate the problem inside. If we were to give another position, then that person has to be inside the building all the time. Who's going to be watching outside?
Exactly.
So,
That's
I
why
mean-
it's something that I don't know how you all want to handle it, but when one of my employees tells me, I send a clerk in there and ask the man to leave, but he's also mentally challenged.
Well, the problem is
You all
that
want to take up
cannot-
I at the same time? or-
Yeah, the problem is that you really can't prohibit entry into a public building by anyone. So that in itself is going to be a problem, I believe. So on the other item, which let me go ahead and read it anyway, they're kind of related. Consideration and approval to create a new deputy constable position to be utilized strictly for the administration building and courthouse parking lots. We can talk about both those items. The first issue is, do we want to prohibit the car wash people from doing that. I mean, that's the first thing. And if we do not, then...
Let's make a decision on that.
Yeah, well, let me finish, because then if we're not going to do that, then what safety are we going to provide the people that use, our parking lot and get their car washed? If we're going to prohibit them, then we have to stand ready to prohibit like services, whatever those are, in that parking lot, and that becomes also an enforcement challenge. So I don't have any problem really with allowing the car wash people, but again, you do have those rogues sometimes that show up with and start doing that, and maybe those are the ones that are harassing the...
Yeah, but those would show up anyway.
I understand that. So, but look, the problem was brought to the attention, we're talking about it, it's up to decide what you want to do. I mean, I'm just bringing it up for discussion, to see where we're going to go.
Judge, Commissioners, we have about 4 car washers out there. They're not all bad, but they do harass the female employees start to all the way to the door of the courthouse.
Why only the female? Why don't they harass the male?
I don't know.
That's discrimination.
But there is one of the car washers here that did show up for the meeting. You guys have any questions or concerns or?
I don't think they harass us, they just want to sell a service.
They're selling their business.
But they follow them all the way. They follow them all the way to the building, and they're getting offended over it. Yeah.
Well, I mean.
But I mean, if you go up to, you all are there, you all have the security at the courthouse. If you tell them, look, you can ask them, but do not follow any employee into the building.
And we've talked to them, Commissioner, yes, we have. We've talked to them in the past, keep their distance, because, Letty has brought it to our attention, that
So
they
at
get
that
harassed.
point, I would think, and I pointed to you're retired, right? Okay, but isn't PD, I mean, if that becomes a problem, you pick up the phone and you call PD.
Arrest them. They're harassing them.
I mean, they arrested a guy because he was mad that the judge made him pay like temporary spousal or child support, and now he's on a $1.5 million bond.
If the court goes ahead and approves that, which is totally within your discretion, you should keep in mind also that people come into the building and they sell jewelry, clothes, candy,
Lunches.
Lottery tickets.
You have fundraisers coming in,
The shoe shine guy,
lotteries,
shine?
yeah.
No.
I mean, it's not just this, so just an FYI to the court again.
I think maybe if the constable, you can talk to the car washers and explain that it's been brought to our attention, and if harassment continues, then we may come back and act on it.
And we have Commissioner, he can vouch for us, that we mentioned to him that they need to keep their distance.
And maybe have Letty, let you know if anyone in particular is getting harassed. I mean, go take that individual and go talk to him.
And I think the judge made a reference to it already. Depending on what we do with the security issue, I mean, if we're going to have people out there, then this is really a non-issue.
Well, there used to be a little, Saul used to drive the Gator and he'd cruise around in the...
Well, and Billy or whoever's here during the day, usually it's Billy, he does make his rounds that way too, but he's just responsible for both or all 3 buildings, and he doesn't quite make it all the way over there all the time, a couple times a day.
He's got to guard the judge, so...
No, he needs to make it over there more of the time of the day, because we have more problems over there.
And more cars over there.
At the end of the day, though, the security is just to deter. What if he's in the backside of the building and somebody goes and breaks into a car and they take it? That's, you cannot say that it's totally preventable, okay? It's going to be deterrence.
Yep.
Now, then, so you have the problem right now that you want another position. So let's say 4 of the bailiffs and one of the judge in the judges' courts are out. What is the elected official going to do? They're going to yank them out from wherever they are and put them in there to take care of the judge, and we're back to step 1. So, I don't know.
If I can make just a real quick comment, the health permits and all that fall under my program. What I would recommend to the court, regardless to either any mobile units, car washes, do something similar to what you have at the Parks Department. Only allow 2 or 3 to do this in different, if you're gonna allow this to happen, I would say, you know what, we're only gonna allow 4 vendors in this facility, have them register, go to the background checks, clear them out, and that way you have a document in place to where you have control of who's on the facility, where you have someone there to say, okay, do you have a pass to be on this, to do this or not, and be approved through the court like you do through the mobile units at the Parks Departments. That would be my recommendation.
That kind of thing right there is what I was talking about, the things we can do, and it might take the form of an amendment to our existing building use policy.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Juan Pablo Ledesma. Tengo apenas como 2 semanas de haber ido aquí a corte a lavar carros en los parqueaderos. Y yo lavo carros aquí para donde está el restaurante que le llaman Las Cazuelas. Nomás que como ahora que hay mucha gente, pues quiere uno lavar carros y los demás chavos se meten y no le dan chance a uno de hacer dinero, como bien decir. Y pues tengo poco de haber venido aquí, pero mucha política de que ha habido problemas aquí afuera de la corte de aquí del condado que molesta a una de las mujeres y todo eso, y yo no sabía. Yo conozco al señor que le llaman el Guapango, que ya tiene mucho tiempo estar trabajando lavando carros. Conocí yo a Roberto, y en aquel entonces yo lavaba carros con ellos, pero luego después me fui para Puerto de Brosby a trabajar y me quedé sin empleo y todavía ando empezando todavía a lavar carros, y parece que había problemas acá y yo no sabía nada, pero tengo apenas 2 semanas y estar tratando a la gente, pero sí conozco varias personas que les he lavado carros y no ha habido problemas conmigo. Nomás quería aclarar eso de que todo está bien, como bien decir.
Gracias, señor. Nosotros no estamos en contra de usted, ¿ok? Lo único que queremos evitar es que los empleados o las empleadas se sientan inseguras. Y si usted me mira a mí y me dice, le lavo su carro, y yo estoy de acuerdo, bien, pero hay personas que son persistentes y ya eso es molestia para los empleados, ¿verdad? Nomás pedimos que respete todos los empleados o todas las personas que a lo mejor visiten nuestro corte.
Exacto.
Gracias.
Perdón, ¿usted conoce todos los que lavan los coches ahí?
Yo conozco al señor Guapango, que le llaman un flaquito.
¿Pero los demás que lavan?
Sí, conocí a Roberto y un güero chaparrito que lavaba carros también ahí en la corte, un chaparrito, pero ya no viene, se casó creo y ya no.
Ya lo mantiene la señora.
Sí, ya no viene, como viene decir. Pero yo conocí mucha gente de ahí, de los que todavía, bueno, ahorita el que queda nomás es el Guapango y el otro parece ser que está encerrado en la cárcel, pues le hacía mucha la droga, como viene decir. El hermano del Guapango, que se llama Roberto, está todavía en el condado.
Todavía faltan la cumbia y
la polca.
Y la polca.
El waltz.
Porque yo estoy de acuerdo que sigan pudiendo hacer eso, pero sin el riesgo que vayan a tener los empleados o gente que visite la corte. En esto no creo que va a hacer nada ahora, pero quisiera pedirle un favor, que cuando regrese al estacionamiento, que hable con nosotros que están lavando coches y les dice, mira, es una junta ahora donde se platicó y nada más trata a la gente con respeto, no lo siguen, o si no nos van a correr a todos y así nadie hace. Haz ese favor y la polca y el huachinango y todo lo que sea, habla con ellos y nada más diles eso que habíamos platicado ahora, ¿ok?
Ok, no hay problema.
Okay.
Hay otro Yo cuando lavaba carros aquí en el centro, les lavaba a la gente del City Manager y hubo también que supuestamente que parece ser que aquí a los chavos que lavan carros aquí en el centro los iban a... O sea que ya no querían que lavaran carros ni nada, que porque había robos y todo eso. Y ahora son más gente y parece ser que ya no hallaban qué hacer con tanta gente porque pues supuestamente aquí en el centro ya no querían mucha gente lavando carros. Y ahora parece ser que está un poquito calmado porque les habían dicho que si hubiera cualquier robo o cualquier cosa, o sea, ya nadie podía lavar carros, como bien decía. Y ahorita está calmado, pero ya no hay business, ya no hay money, está muy slow, está muy despacio, como bien decía. Y aquí en la corte es a lavar carros, como bien decir, todos los días en la mañana.
Permítame hacerle una pregunta. ¿De dónde saca usted el agua para lavar el carro?
Y
El
tiene el
agua es de la
derecho de
corte.
no responder. Bajo el quinto.
De la corte.
De la corte.
De la corte.
Exacto.
Ok, gracias.
Gracias por participar en
Out of
este
curiosity,
I think
for open meetings minutes purposes, are we going to have a translation done for this, or?
Go
Totally
right-
off the record.
Go ahead, Bruce, you can translate all day long.
He said,
do we have,
thank you.
Do we have trash receptacles in the parking lot?
No.
No, we don't.
You know, because that's one of the concerns I know that had been voiced, is that sometimes there's newspapers that are used for like window cleaning and stuff like that are thrown out there. Maybe we should put some receptacles in
Okay.
appropriate areas
Sure.
so that we won't have trash flow in there. And it would, I mean, basically help the folks that are out there washing cars get rid of their trash.
Absolutely. We'll do that.
Y señor, si tienen basura, que no la tiren en la calle o ahí en el estacionamiento. Y le dice al Juapango también, por favor.
Van a poner unos receptacles para que no se batalle.
So I guess we're,
On this,
Move
one,
to
just ask that-
deny.
On this one,
Second.
we just tabled it.
Oh, you
okay. On G?
Table, is that the deny or the table?
Well, whatever you want to call it. Move the table.
Well, just tabled it.
Second.
By Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, carries. On the other item regarding the deputy constable, let's talk about that one a little bit. That one's going to cost money. We also talked about that. Do you want to table it as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that if there's issues with security, we need to tell our courthouse security here to be over there more visible and more present.
Okay. All right.
Do you have any extras that you could send over, like from the bridge? Maybe we could get security.
Where's the little green gator that they used to drive around over there?
It's here. I mean, he's every morning. I mean, I see Billy, every morning he's patrolling.
It's in here? Maybe have them use it over
Yeah,
there?
Billy comes in at about, I think comes in at 7, and he gets here, and then he does he kind of does an assessment of all the areas to see if anything, we have county vehicles, if the glass has been broken, or if anything's been vandalized, he kind of does an assessment. And then he goes again around 10 o'clock. He'll do it again, and he'll do it again just after lunchtime, I
He
think.
needs to spend more time over there, because that's where more,
Right.
we haven't had any
Right.
complaints here.
Well, we can do that, I mean, if you'd rather have them over there.
Everyone here carries a gun, that's why. There's no metal detectors.
All right, do I hear a motion to table by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Benavides? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, carries. Item H, deliberation and possible action to enter into an agreement with the City of Los Indios to supply law enforcement services, including city code enforcement, to the City of Los Indios temporarily. That's yours, Commissioner.
I put that one on because the city has asked if we would be willing to partner with them to carry out some of their law enforcement duties. They don't have a police department. They do want to begin to enforce some ordinances and things that they could pass, but they don't have the funds to fully fund a police department. So what they had done is, I believe they spoke to a constable, and he agreed to help them out temporarily. And I think what they're trying to do is maybe kind of do a feasibility study on whether or not they should hire someone full-time. But in the meantime, they would pay us or reimburse us for the cost of what it would take to assign a deputy over there to assist them.
What do they mean by city code enforcement? Is that like health or?
Well, I think any ordinances they may pass, health like a dumping or, any type of citation that would need to be issued within the city, they have no one to issue it other than, I think they do have a health inspector, but other ordinances, maybe traffic enforcement within the town. My guess is they're probably going to want to work 281 for some citations to raise a little bit of revenue.
Probably do well there.
Right. So I think that's the idea, is to see what kind of revenue they might be able to get as well as enforcing. Mayor?
Hello. I just want to be sure that it's just the law enforcement side of it, because the health department, health inspectors fall under my program. I just want to make it clear, because we already charge every city for enforcement of animal control with the pickup and stuff like that. But I just want to be sure that this is not going to fall under my program to go do junk cars, trash, health violations, or...
Well, let me ask you this. If it did, would you be interested in, them paying for an employee for a couple hours, 5 hours a week to go do health code enforcement in the city?
I mean, it all depends, because, during the working hour, during 8 to 5, I don't think we have enough personnel to do...
Right.
To go do that, but...
No, but maybe on the weekend, maybe they'd want to, employ one of your guys. I don't know. I mean, they've talked about law enforcement. You do enforce some laws, so,
Right.
I mean...
Yeah, that's why I just wanted to be clear. I'm pretty sure that if they would talk to one of my staff, or they could do something, work something out after hours.
And this is subject to, the constable has to agree to do it. We're not saying, constable, you have to, but we have to bless the ability for them to do it.
Some of the other cities, like Bayview, hires, people like on a per item or per occurrence or that type of thing. Laguna Vista, the same way. They hire code enforcement people, but like on a part-time
Basis.
basis.
Well, I think mainly what they were looking at, I think, was more traffic and city ordinance type, what a police officer would do. And so depending on the constable's availability, or if he would, I don't know, designate maybe some of his reserves to go do that. I don't know what the constable's...
I've prepared a draft agreement pursuant to the court's instructions last time we broached this subject. And we can specify those duties, and be very precise about it. And, we need to do that, as a matter of fact. And, obviously the constable needs to be a part of, deciding what those duties are going to be. I forwarded that to Jared Hakama, who has already given some preliminary comments to it, and he's supposed to get back with us about, how far they want to go with it and give us some of the details about what they want. And so, it's something we can do legally. We'll just need to be careful about when they're working for the city, when they're on county time, who's paying for transporting them over to do code enforcement type stuff and who's not. The insurance aspect of it, the liability aspect of it, all that can be taken care of by agreement.
Move to approve subject to legal and the constable approval.
Second.
I have a move and a second. Bless you. Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Benavides. Discussion. I've got some concerns with this. I don't know if we really want to go down this path. The city of Bayview is one other city. Are we going to stand ready to do that? I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with it. There's just something not right. Not that it's not right. I just don't feel comfortable basically renting one of our people the bookkeeping nightmare that's going to happen. I don't know who's going to take care of the accountability, the accounting. Are they doing it during their regular hours, and then he's off the clock for us, and then works for the city of Los Indios? Who's going to keep track of all that time, and how are we going to keep track of this?
The constable?
You know?
I mean, to me, this is not any different than Stone Garden, or it's not any different than a partnership with the feds or ICE or HIDA or whoever, you know.
Yeah, but Stone Garden actually pays for actual people.
Well, and
They're
so-
gonna pay.
So would the city. The city would, I mean, I would like to see the agreement before we approve it. I would like to approve this subject to the agreement, be brought to Commissioner's Court, you know.
Well, in the event there's citations issued, since it's going to be patrolling Highway 281, in effect, the constable is going to be issuing the citation, and whose court cost and fines is that going to be?
There's a municipal court, the arrest fee, there's a $5 arrest fee on a citation. That would go to the constable regardless of, you know, where he's filing the citation. But if it gets filed in the municipal, it's kind of like our commercial vehicle enforcement at the bridge.
Right.
When they file them at the city of Brownsville,
They get it.
the city gets it. The only thing that the agency gets is that $5, what they call arrest fee, which is to hand them the citation.
So the county would get $5.
Well, but the city's
on a
gonna
citation.
pay. In
Right.
other words, if they
No,
go
no, the
work
city's
10
gonna pay
hours,
the
city's gonna
cost.
pay for the employees 10 hours, the cost of the unit,
Right,
the
right.
cost of whatever. So they're not asking for us to do it for free. They're gonna reimburse. They just don't have funds to hire a full-time person, so they wanna say, hey, 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week, we wanna hire one of your people to come patrol or whatever.
In the agreement, because it says here, for a short time, is the agreement going to identify the time, like 6 months, 3 months?
The way that draft is done right now, it would be for as long as a year, but this is the kind of discussion I'd hope to have about that. The agenda item talks about a temporary thing, and that's what we're trying to achieve here. But just to give a long enough sample period of time to do the kind of study that I think Commissioner Sanchez was talking about, right now, that draft, I think as I recall, would start June 1 and finish, or July 1 and finish June 30, I believe is the way it's phrased right now. But all of that is subject to negotiation, and like I told Jared in the email I sent the agreement over to him with, you know, this is very preliminary, just something to get something in front of everybody to begin looking at it and seeing, you know, how far we want to go with this and, you know, come to terms on the pay and our compensation of the county. I know I talked to Javier a little bit about the cost of the units, and he suggested we just use the mileage and keep track of mileage and reimburse it. I think he said at 55 cents a mile. All of these things need to be worked out, and I think the observation that we need to look at the soft cost involved in that, make sure we get that taken care of. All of that's perfectly legitimate, and it's all part of what can be done by contract.
All right, okay.
I don't have a problem as long as we get something to look at before it's approved.
We're made whole as well.
Yeah, we'll bring it back in the recommended final form, or to some extent, if we need executive session on it, we'll do that too. But right now, we're trying to get the city committed to precisely what it is they want. Right now, I don't have a whole lot of information to work with on that.
Okay,
So we're not entering into an agreement today.
Well,
We're given authority to work on an agreement.
well, let's work, well, then, we need to change the language, because the way the language is to enter into an agreement. And we haven't seen an agreement. So how can we fix that?
We can table it and bring us an agreement. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
you know,
fine.
one way to fix it would be a motion to proceed along the lines we discussed here to try to work out an agreement and bring it back to Commissioners Court for final approval.
That's fine.
So move.
That'll work, okay.
Second by Sophia.
Second by Commissioner, with that language change. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item I, that was tabled. Item J, Consideration action for Commissioners Court to approve and designate funds for 3 Wyndham weaponry rifles from the buy board distributors. Who's going to talk to that? I think is the issue a funding issue?
Yeah.
Okay. On the funding issue,
Funding, and then is there extra training required for those type of rifles or not?
I believe there's someone here from the constables that can address training or,
Okay.
as far as funding, we have no funding other than lab salaries.
Constable? Good morning.
Morning.
I think the question is, these are different types of weapons in a regular
Yes.
9mm. Is this something, is there extra training that you're going to have to go to, or your officer's going to go to?
Just the regular getting certified, shooting the weapons out of the range and.
Right, to certify on this particular weapon,
Yes.
correct? Okay, you're going to do that?
Yes.
All right. And you don't have any money in your budget?
No.
Okay, I would recommend that we utilize, how much is it? 2,100, 2,500?
2,300.
Okay,
Move to
$2,200.
approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa, in that part of that motion, to use lap salaries,
Right.
to do that.
We have ammunition already in the office.
Okay.
So it's just the
Yeah.
weapons alone.
All right.
We have ammunition.
The same ammo works in the,
Yeah, it's the 2 different caliber.
okay, perfect.
All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item K.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Constable. Consideration possible approval for a lease agreement. Do I hear a motion to table? No, that's to table by legal?
So move.
Second.
By Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. On items L, M, and N, Pete wanted to wait for that till he got here. Right, so let's go on to the presentations. 4A, presentation by Charles David Hoskins regarding financial services offered by Primerica.
Is this a real, David?
The real.
Good morning, Commissioners, Judge.
Honey.
My name is Charles Hoskins Jr. This is Robert Avitia and Ruben Rodriguez.
So we got a father and son team here, all both retired from Brownsville PD. It's got to be a first.
He's local counsel. Oh, yeah.
On behalf of Primerica, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Avitia to be giving the presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners, Judge.
Morning.
What we're asking for is to be able to have access to county employees, to be able to do a presentation, financial wellness seminar, to be able to teach them a little bit more about finances, to give them a peace of mind, and relieve some financial stress to help them achieve the financial goals that they have. If you look on page 2, kind of tells you a little bit there. What we do is teaching people how to get out of debt, save money, send their children to college, proper protection, prepare for retirement, become financially independent. But what that does to families is reduces stress level and gives them a better quality of life. And as you work your way to about maybe 2/3 down in larger font, it tells you Primerica takes an educational approach, and we offer sophisticated financial tools to the middle market for free. A lot of people kind of balk at that and say for free, yes, for free.
Nothing's free.
And a lot of it's because of the fact of the companies that we work with that provide our commissions to be able to provide their services to the families we sit down with and help for their future. Page 3 teaches you a little bit there, or shows you a little bit there, the 3 major concepts to be able to help families achieve that financial success. Number 1 is a little bit more about life insurance, buy term insurance, and invest the difference in number 2. So that way they can get a better rate of return for their future. We also teach them how to get out of debt, which is one of the main reasons why most people today don't save money. But by helping them eliminate debt, they're able to free up more money to be able to save more for their future. But it's also about saving in the right places. And that's one of the things that we're able to do. But if you look on page 4, that's a sample analysis that we put together for every family individually. It's specifically designed for them, and it's customized for them based on their financial situation. You can see in the next page, shows them how to build their financial home. And in the following page, it shows them a little bit more of their financial position. And as you're going through this, if you look at the back of every page, we also do it in Spanish, okay? So it's done in English and in Spanish to be able to provide in every area for every family to help them achieve their financial goals, basically because every family is different. But showing them their financial position, we're able to show them how they spend their money, but also how to be able to eliminate some of the things that they have that's keeping them from obtaining those financial goals. We also show them on the following page, savings for retirement needs. After their financial position, we show them on the following page, saving for retirement needs of what needs to be done to be able to retire at the age they want with the money they need to live a comfortable retirement. And after that, we show them a little bit more of their debt situation, which many people want to talk about debt, but they really don't because they don't really want to know how bad it is. But if you look at the following page, we then show them how to debt stack to eliminate that debt a lot quicker without having to spend a penny more than what's in their budget, so that way they can achieve the goals that they have. Because ultimately, the reason why everybody stresses and most decisions people make throughout the day is based on their finances. And so what we do is we bring that peace of mind to be able to tell families and show families how to be able to get what they want financially for their future. But at the very end, the reason why we're able to do what we do, if you look at the very last page, you can see that we're a one-stop financial supermarket with home delivery. And what we're asking for is to be able to give us access to do these free financial wellness seminars, that if the families or the employees decide that this is something they want to continue with, that at that point they can give us their information, such as phone number, to be able to contact them, to be able to set up individual appointments outside of business hours on their time, to be able to help them put together free financial analysis and see what we could do to help them achieve their financial goals.
I met with Mr. Hoskins yesterday, and one of the first things that I asked him was, how much would this cost the county? And he said it would cost nothing. Sometimes when we have presentations, we have people coming in, either selling insurance or whatever, and it's hard because that's added work for the auditor's office for payroll deductions and whatnot. So it's good to know that it wouldn't cost the county. I'm always for trying to help our employees with extra benefits. And I think this would be very good for them, but I don't know what or how you would come about being able to reach our employees, how we would release their names and their telephone numbers to you all. But because at the end of the day, now as a seminar, you're talking about how much time?
30 minutes.
A 30-minute
30 minutes for a
seminar.
PowerPoint presentation, maybe during their lunchtime, which is maybe the county can announce it, support it, or get the word out there to be able to do a 30-minute presentation. And after that, if they decide that this is something for them, just get their information from there. So that we're not soliciting people that don't want this service,
No, I understand.
but more soliciting to the ones that do want this typical or this
And may not
particular
know
service.
about it, and at
Correct.
least you're making it available to them.
Correct.
I don't know how the rest of the court feels about
So,
it.
so you want to do this seminar, you're not asking to do it on county time. You're just asking us to let the employees know you're going to be on site. And for instance, at the judicial courthouse, maybe use one of the rooms at the lunch hour and let employees know if you want to attend, there's this going on.
Correct, and we would provide lunch for them as well. While we do this free
wow.
financial seminar, we provide lunch for them. And like I said, afterwards, the ones that do want to continue with this financial service, basically just get their information, and at that point, contact them after hours, after work hours, to be able to help them individually.
I'll move to approve as long as it's not during county
Correct.
time.
I think we can bring it back as an agenda item because it's just a presentation.
Oh, we don't have it.
So we'll acknowledge the presentation and then bring it back for another agenda item at the next meeting to approve it, and that'll give you some time.
Okay? Sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Anybody have questions on the presentation? Yes, sir.
We've had other companies come to the county and where they were selling different types of insurance, and we've allowed them to come and present at the, I think that at the time when the employees get for the health fair, yeah, the health fair. So this is similar, at least it's not something that is going to be taking up county time if they're going to do it like at lunchtime. And then talking to the individuals later after hours, and I think that this is okay.
So the difference between the request we had in those presents was that they were inviting public, not county employees.
I'm sorry, which,
Remember the request that we had from Driscoll Health Plans? You know, they were going to present to public, not county employees. I just want to make sure that whenever that lady calls me, I can.
yeah, this
have
and
an
this is
answer.
this is something that we can say there's a benefit to our
This is
employees.
an employee benefit.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Good.
And so you're going to go to the different buildings that the county has so that you can present this to all the employees?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I would just say bring it back on an agenda item to approve, and as long as you're not taking county time, then I think it's a good idea.
We're not going to take county time. Our whole goal is not to have any cost to the county.
And let them know that the commissioners, provided them a free lunch.
Correct. We'll let them know that, okay?
We allowed.
Let me get with Arnold real quick. Arnold, thank you. Arnold, as far as scheduling this, the best way I would think to schedule it is get with the elected officials or the department heads, so they can let their employees know. And if somehow it takes more than 30 minutes, that the employee account for that time somehow, okay? I mean, hard to believe you're going to get all these people in and out, eat and everything in a 30-minute span, so it may go over a little bit.
Well, but they have a lunch hour. They have a whole hour.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and it just depends on if they do have any overruns that they somehow account, but I think that's the best way to do it.
It's the initial presentation, and then
Correct.
individual presentations are done like in their home or what have
Correct.
you. So, yeah, it's
Okay.
outside, off county time.
No, it's a good idea.
Beautiful.
Good idea.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll schedule it the way we did it with the UTPA, the tuition
Yeah.
assistance program. We'll do it the same way.
Okay, all right. But when is the next health fair, by the way?
That will be in October.
Okay, all right. So anybody you don't catch during this, maybe you can set up shop at our health fair as well. Okay, I heard a motion by Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa to acknowledge. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Let's go back to Pete's items, and we'll do the last presentation. Item L, consideration of, you want to do all three at the same time, Pete?
We can do that, yes.
Okay, item L, item M, and item N, all having to do with change orders with McCarthy Construction on the West Rail, number 3, number 6, and number 7. Okay, Pete.
Judge and Commissioners, good morning. This three change orders are in an effort to try and come to as close as possible to close out the West Rail relocation project. As you all know, this has been a very complex project, not only because of the binational significance. Whatever we had to do on the U.S. side, we had to make sure that Mexico was coordinating on the Mexican side. To date, the total cost of the project on the U.S. and Mexico is $120 million. Mexico is pretty much complete with their end, except for improvements that Mexican Customs, Kansas City, Southern Mexico is requesting. They do not have their VACAS unit either. And then on the U.S. side, we also had to deal with the relocation of 3 gas transmission lines at 5 different locations where we had conflicts. And so y'all know the negotiations that we went through started at $9 million, ended up just below $3 million. Over the last year, we've been trying to get with a contractor to ensure that we close out the project. TxDOT has been with us every step of the way. Recently, I think at the last meeting, I reported on one of the agenda items that we had we were successful in getting TxDOT to appropriate additional funding, close to $4 million, to try and close out the project. So after these 3 change orders, I believe there's still going to be one last change order.
Was those 4 million through the MPO totally, or was that a combination?
That was a combination of earmark funds and STP funds, I believe, that TxDOT had at their level.
At their level?
At the state level, yes. And one of the things that occurred is that originally when we bid out the project was under budget. Well, maybe not under budget, but under the amount of money that TxDOT had originally appropriated. And so because it was under, they only appropriated that amount of money, not the entire funds that they had. So we always knew that there was a difference from what they were carrying in their spreadsheet to what the advanced funding agreement called for. So they went back and they verified, and sure enough, their spreadsheets were off, but we've taken care of that.
This must be a first?
For us?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I always knew there was a difference, but
didn't know how much.
They came back with almost double the amount, and so that did take me a little bit by surprise. But I mean, I didn't complain much. We're going to have one less change order pending, and the other thing that happened on this project is after we bid it out, we had a contractor on board. DHS came and said, well, you know, these are the guidelines that we want you to use. So that changed everything dealing with the fencing, lighting, and the gate. We had a conference call last week with DHS, and we still have not worked out the issue with the gate. So we made some suggestions, and we're waiting to hear from them. Hopefully, if they agree to them, we can have McCarthy and their sub. McCarthy has a local sub that is going to price the lighting, the fencing, and the gate. And hopefully, once we get approval from DHS, we can close out the project. This 3 change orders, number 3 is a deduct. There was some work that the previous general manager at Irrigation District number 6 had requested, and then once we started construction, there was a change in personnel. The new manager went out there and advised us that those improvements were no longer needed. So the change order 3 is a deduct of about $165,000. Change order 6 is a variety of items. We've got about 17 items on this change order, from an irrigation line dealing with a property owner. We've got turnaround for fire trucks at the DHS building, minor modifications that are required, a riprap at the culverts on Railroad Street. As you all recall, part of the rail relocation project included constructing a street so that we could provide access to property owners that were left with property south of the railroad tracks. We had an irrigation line at one of the stations that needed to be modified after the construction began. There was about 1,900 linear feet of a ditch that was required to accommodate a vertical clearance on one of the conflicts that we had with the gas transmission line. We had to generate a proper cover over a safety end treatment for the gas transmission line. This is where the concrete slopes at the end of the pipe, and it transitioned into a drainage ditch. We had to reslope Railroad Street over the irrigation ditch. A couple of other issues with the Transmontane pipeline. We had a total of about 8, again, different safety end treatments that we had to deal with after Transmontane came in and relocated their pipes. We had some coordination with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Texas Parks and Wildlife. We had a couple of a buffer area where they thought the trees were a nuisance, and they made us remove those trees. So this is part of that change order. And then scheduling issues, mobilization issues, as a result
Parks
of
and Wildlife made us remove trees.
Yes. Well, they're in real bad shape, and the decision was made to remove them. That was their decision, along with Texas Parks and Wildlife. So that covers change order number 6, which is $138,778.71. Then change order 7. This change order deals with and there was an overrun in the ballast. After we started construction, the standard for UP changed, and so we were left with an overrun on the ballast. The International Bridge requires a double guardrail on the inside of the bridge, so this changer will deal with that. There was some buffer zone replantings again. After we completed the vegetation mitigation, had meetings, tours out there with Fish and Wildlife, Texas Parks and Wildlife. So we had to do some replantings to conform to their standards. And then we had additional general conditions between the contractor and their sub so they can come back and complete the entire project. Union Pacific has gone out twice and inspected the entire project from the start all the way to the middle of the bridge. And the contractor has that punch list. And when they come back, and the reason we've been waiting on some of the change orders is because we wanted, or the contractor would only want to come back once and do all the items that are pending, included the items in the punch list, so that they wouldn't have to be mobilizing multiple times. And so that's part of the reason why some of the change orders we waited until the contractor had all the list of items that needed to be addressed, and we avoided additional costs on mobilization. These are not the original numbers that we started off with when we started negotiating with the contractor. The numbers we started negotiating at were much higher than what's in front of you, but these were the final negotiated changes. Ran this through TxDOT, and they had a couple of suggestions on some of the language, so we'll modify that language to conform to TxDOT standards. Again, as far as change orders, we should have one more to deal with the gate, fencing, and lighting for DHS. And after that, the only thing that will be pending is a VACUS unit. The RMA, there's a board meeting at noon, and we have an item on the agenda for the RMA to fund that relocation. Once that is done, the project should be complete. We do have a number of parcels that are in eminent domain condemnation, and we'll go through that process. But we can close out the project, the construction side of it, if the change orders are approved, the contractor comes back and completes the remaining pending items. Those we've estimated the cost of those condemnation cases, and that funding is available through TxDOT as well.
Pete, on that additional mobilization and general conditions, is that kind of like the settlement piece? Or the negotiated
That is the
disagreement?
negotiated, yes. And that number started probably three and a half times higher than what's in here. We negotiated that with the contractor. Contractor negotiated that with his subs. We thought this was fair. Originally, they gave us a number for escalation on their ballast, on their rail, on the rail charge, and so I got directly with UP, and UP said, well, if they want to deviate from the original number, then let us know, and we can work with you to bring them back down to that original number. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, that's what this is about. But this would, hopefully close out the project pending the one last change order to deal with DHS fencing, lighting, and gate.
What about the other testing issues that haven't been paid?
Those are our engineering services as well. Funding's in place for that. I think we've got one
one issue pending. We dealt with one, I think about a month, two ago, and we've got one pending that I need to get clearance from TxDOT that we still haven't gotten, but I imagine that, in the next couple of weeks, that can be worked out.
So that's going to be taken care of?
Yes.
Because, I've gotten a number, this is like years in the making, and I think it's work that the county asked them to do, and, we haven't paid, basically.
We've sorted that out. And part of this change order, we dealt with that because a portion of that work was not related to testing, and so the contractor has agreed to assume responsibility for that.
Okay.
But to answer your question,
So once we pay this, the contractor will pay that?
yes, and then we will get with TxDOT on the one pending invoice that we have
Okay.
and deal with that, yes.
I just want to make sure that when we say final, that, everything gets taken care of.
Yeah, we couldn't close out the project if we had any claims pending by either contractors, subs, or, engineering or their subs. I was made aware about a month and a half ago of a claim by a sub, and that was dealt through with negotiations with McCarthy and their.
Yeah, as long as we
and
get
their
it
subs.
taken care of.
Yes. It's been very, very difficult.
So at the end of the day, when are we looking at this bridge opening? Because we might have, we talked about December, November.
I think if the board meeting, the RMA goes well, August should be very, very realistic. Because what we're going to try to do in the next week or so is get McCarthy's local sub to price the gate, lighting, and fencing. And if we're able to negotiate that, then that work can be done while the relocation of the VACAS unit is in place. I got an email earlier this morning, actually yesterday, from headquarters, DHS. They pretty much have their plan in place with Mexico as to how the unit will be relocated and how it will be, or how they will deal with traffic and the sharing of images while one VACAS unit is shut down. So I think if the RMA meeting goes well, I'd say August is very realistic.
Great.
Let us know. Because everybody in DC wants to come visit this project.
Yes, it's just been a very difficult, the negotiations with McCarthy were, very tense. Like I said, the numbers they started off with were extremely high, and having to go item by item and justifying the cost. What you have here, the final number, when you take the three change orders, about 996,000, just under $1 million. But it took a lot to get to that number, and I guarantee you, at least in my opinion, it's very fair, both to the county and to the contractor as well.
Good job, Pete. Do you want us to vote on these, on all three of them
Yeah,
together?
let's go ahead and hear a motion to approve all three change orders. Moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Carries. Thank you, Pete. Item B, presentation of fiscal year 2013-2014 mid-year budget review.
Judge, Commissioners, as we do every year, this is our mid-year presentation on revenues and expenditures. I trust you all have received the documents via email. Starting off, up at the very top part of the couple of lines down, you'll see the Veterans Los Indios Bridge and Gateway Bridge transfer. The one that is projected to meet 90% of the budget is the Los Indios Bridge. That is based on operations that we're seeing right now.
Well, lucky
However-
that's a small one.
Yes, yes, it is. And while Veterans Bridge is projected to bring in 100% of the budget, we will transfer everything that is available per the contractual agreement that we do have. So it's anticipated that hopefully that will be a little bit more. Gateway will definitely, probably, more than likely, we anticipate it meeting budget. For the most part, all departments seem to be doing very well, and we project that we be able to meet our budget. JP's revenues, my projection is probably that we'll be short about 120,000, 140,000. And if the court will recall, we had to factor in that projection that they were going to be working with a new system, and we weren't sure how that was going to affect our revenue collections. Constable's budget, I provided a recap, a real.
Martha, that's 140 for the year or mid-year?
144,000 at year end.
Okay.
So we'll be short probably about 120,000 for meeting budget.
Okay.
That's the projection at this time.
From each budget?
No, total.
Oh.
Total. Yeah, that's total. That's why I provided it off on the side as a total for all JP budget. On the next page, the constable's overall budget for all constables was projected at 393,000, and they will probably exceed it by about 10,000. So, we have some that make up and pick up a little bit more than the others. So at the end, that looks like that will come out very well.
That just paid for the rifles.
Yeah.
And the revenue as budgeted was $79,749,000, and the projection for FY14 is that we will be at $80,631,000. The jail infirmary the jail detention center for the U.S. Marshals, the total revenue for the budget for the jail was $6.3 million, and I have projected conservatively $7.4 million. It's hoped that will probably be a little bit more. Our jail population is doing very well right now, so.
Good job, Sheriff.
And so it appears that we will do very well.
And the judiciary.
Do what?
And the judiciary.
Oh, yeah. No, just
Correct.
the judiciary, the DA's office.
Yeah.
But,
Martha, before we move on to the expenditures, I just have a couple of comments. On any item here that is below 40 to 42%, it should raise a question as to the whys. And let's start off first with the RMA that is projected 458,000, and you're projecting 327,000 to come in. So that's $110,000 shortfall, correct?
Correct.
Now,
And
why is that?
That is based, they bring in what they spend. That's on a reimbursement basis and on their expenditures, so the
So,
budget.
Are we going to see an
It's a wash.
offset on the expenditure side?
Yes,
I haven't
correct.
gotten there yet.
Yes.
Okay. When you look at the general admin, where we budgeted 2.6 million and you're projecting that exactly 2.6 million, but it's only 16% for the first 6 months, what leads you to believe that we're going to collect, an additional 84% in the next 6 months? We only collected 16% for the first 6.
We have some of that revenue that comes in at the later end of the
Okay.
year.
it's
So we do
front load
anticipate-
costs,
We
back
expect.
end
All right.
reimbursement.
Yes,
On the bail bond fees, that's way down, but okay. On the JPs, the only one that's really significantly down would be JP 5-1.
That's correct.
That's one we've talked about all morning.
Yes.
That one? Okay, that's at 40%.
Well, they need to make deposits, basically.
Yeah. Okay, on the motor vehicle inspection, are those, we budgeted 116, we're at 20% of the collection for the 6-month period on the second page.
That's correct. And we haven't received all of the reports yet, all of the
So
monthly reports.
there may
so
be some more?
Yes, there will be more, yes.
Okay. On the mental health transport, we're at 42% of that. Is that going to be the same thing we haven't received? Let me ask you, are these cash basis or accrual basis?
The actual is actual basis, okay? The projection is obviously a
So it's cash.
projection. It's a cash basis.
So it's cash basis that you've got
Yes.
here, that's why you got some pending reports.
But the mental health is all funded by the
The mental health
hospitals.
is all reimbursed by the hospital, so it's a wash. That has the same effect that the RMA does.
On that particular one, I know that the constable was here earlier, but he was approached to add another transporter that would be fully funded by that grant.
By the participating
Tropical
hospital,
Texas,
yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's going to offset, but give us more access.
On the health department, we're at 8%. Is, what is the reason for that?
That is because, well, actually, it's met 90%. Oh, that percentage is in there incorrectly, okay.
Okay, so that should be
Well, no, the
nine-
percentage is correct, but what's not there is, we haven't received all of the information yet. So we do anticipate it.
So the percentage is
Yes.
wrong, but you anticipate.
The percentage is right, I'm sorry, I misspoke, okay, yeah.
Checks in the mail.
That includes the tobacco reimbursement? Because that's one of those back, okay.
Yeah, we just
Got
got a
it.
notice of it.
Okay, on the road and bridge, the 25%, what is that? And why is that?
The 25%, that is, there's money that comes in from the state comptroller that needs to get distributed, and that money has not come in yet, but we do anticipate it coming in, and that should be at the full 100%.
Okay, and then on the consolidated road and bridge M&O?
Yes. Mhm.
Same thing?
Yes, mhm.
Okay.
And Javier will go over the expenses.
Judge and Commissioners, the expenditures are through April 30th to incorporate the 6 months of operating costs, but then that also includes the month of April salaries. So anything that has a remaining percentage over 42% is doing well. There are some that are highlighted that are below that. For general administration, that one's running high, but that's because of agreements that we're in, that we've already paid the full amounts. So it's kind of skews it. There will be no more expenditures for the remainder of the year. For the civil division, what's causing that is some settlements that have been approved by the Commissioners Court that have been paid out of there. So that kind of is making it reflect their regular operating budget is within the normal parameters. The one farther down, elections and voter registration, shows at 33%. There is a problem. Their extra help budget is almost completely spent.
Which one's that one, Javier?
Voter registration.
Extra help budget.
Oh.
And their overtime budget, they're already over on the overtime budget. What may help offset is that with the agreements that we were talking about earlier today, that we're, for the VOTEC, is included in the encumbrances that's here, but if there's a way to offset and kind of recoup some of those costs, and also within one of their maintenance agreements is actually going to be less than what they had within their budget. And so hopefully we should be able to cover their costs. It all depends what they spend for these runoffs that are
Javier, on the, let's go back a little bit, half
Okay.
page, on the probate court.
Okay.
Okay, we approved funding some rover. Is that what that's about?
No, those are the actual positions. There was an auditor, there
Right,
was an
right.
investigator,
That-
and
right,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, and so those positions, as of April 30th, they hadn't been filled.
I mean, if y'all remember, during the budget, I mean, it was a big to-do about doing the probate court, and, you know, we needed this, we needed that, so we chose to fund, you know, an audit, you know, those positions to take care of the three courts, and have they even attempted to fill them?
I know they were posted on the website for the three positions. One of the issues that I had heard early on was, okay, where are we going to put them? Because they have no physical location for them to work out of. I don't know if I haven't checked recently to see if they're still posted on the county website, or, you know, if they received applicants or anything.
But we
I was
talked
not aware
about that during the budget process. Like, the question was, you know, where are you going to put them? Where are you going to put the new JP that's coming on board in January? We talked about those issues, and everybody said, oh, don't worry, it'll take care of itself.
It's Arnold Flores' fault.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we're going to come now, and that's fine, we haven't funded it, but if I remember, there was just an immediate sense of urgency that we had to get these things on board immediately. We did, and they remain vacant. So, just an FYI.
Yes. And
The issue, what you're talking about is the space for them, and I think they've located some space that is being used right now as storage on the second floor, in between County Court 3 offices and the stairwell. I think there's an area back there that is used for storage that probably could be converted into office space, but that costs money too, so. And I think they were told there's no money, I don't know. So, I mean, if, maybe we can get Arnold to work on that, because I do know that they were taking applications, and I don't know if they're interviewing yet, but part of the holdup was, where are we gonna put them?
yeah, and there was, within the new COs, there was money allocated in the original amount for courthouse improvements. So I guess it just needs to be determined what's going to happen and where. That's also the case on the JP. Well, it doesn't show so much, but 2-3, the JP position hasn't been filled, and one of the other clerk positions was actually transferred to Constable Precinct 5. So, well, elections, yeah, we're hoping that they'll be able to make it through the end of the fiscal year. If not, we'll
Javier,
be
just real
coming back
quick
to you.
on that 2-3, it hasn't been filled, but we're at 73% of the expenditure already?
No, that's remaining budget.
Ah, okay, got it. So what are we spending the money on? Is it
There's
on-
actually 2 clerks.
And they're
that-
staffing in the other JPs, but it's coming out of this budget?
Correct. They're to keep them under the control of that department. That salary schedule and everything was prepared. JP 2-3 and those positions.
But they
were
just
within
answer
there.
to
They're
the
just-
other JPs.
They're in
Okay.
San Benito right now, I believe. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, got it.
If you go to the next page, the M&O for the Santa Rosa is running around 33%. That has to do with the utilities. We get reimbursed part of it from Cameron Works, and so we just need to, I guess, have maintenance go check and see what's going on with the electricity usage out there and just make sure they stay on top of that. The jail shows 39%. What's kind of skewing that one is, if you notice on the encumbrances, there's encumbrances of $912,000, which is the food contract, so that kind of pulls it down. But the issue that they have there is they're almost out of funds for overtime. That was brought up a couple of meetings ago, and we're possibly designating the remaining SCAP funds to cover any overages in overtime. If you go farther down, indigent health shows 30% remaining. That is the contract for the pathologist is 100% encumbered. So other than that, they should be fine, that particular budget. And then the Santa Maria Learning Center is only showing 18%.
So when you have a contract, you encumber the sum total of the contract, not the monthly amount.
Right, for the total year, yeah. Santa Maria is only showing 18% remaining. I know Pedro's here, he was gonna look at that and see what was causing that. I'm not really sure. Staffing allocation.
And then based on past presentations, we're looking at all the budgets and realigning them and renaming them. So we'll be moving staffing around.
Okay.
The next page is Road and Bridge. They're all within range. Everything seems to be fine. Don't anticipate any problems. The only thing that's out there, is fuel costs keep kind of going up and down, and so we just have to keep an eye on that over the summer and be on top of the fuel budgets for the individual departments. Everything else seems to be running pretty smoothly. If there's not any questions with that, I just want to mention, I'm sure y'all saw the email that went out in reference to the budget for next fiscal year. It was sent out to the departments for them to submit their budget requests by the end of this month so we can start entering it into the system and start working on it. We received the preliminary valuations from the appraisal district. The increase that they have is 2.29% increase in valuations, which is kind of low being the preliminary because it goes down from there. I actually, just to look and see based on those valuations and taking into account the tax requirement for the new debt, For the general fund, based on the preliminaries, assuming the same tax rate, there will be no excess revenues. Assuming everything else is constant. I'm talking about tax revenues. It changes from here forward. But just to make you aware, based on the valuations that we have right now.
So really what you're saying is that assuming everything stays the same, there's no big deal.
There's no extra money.
We're going to be just even
Yeah,
with
assuming
the
everything
expense that we
else.
have now.
Does that include some of the additions we've made, mid-year amendments?
No.
So then we're at a deficit.
Possibly. Yeah, if everything stays the same, which, normally it doesn't, but I'm talking about tax revenues, yeah, it's the issue. You don't have that, okay, we're automatically, if we maintain the same tax rate, we're going to have $500,000 or what
So
have you, because of the valuations.
the appraisal
Here,
district
it's
didn't do
gonna-
their job right.
Well, I don't know, mine went up, so I don't.
So they must have done it right.
My valuation went up, so. But, and also because of the debt, that's.
And also, you're
shifted
assuming the
because of
same
debt.
bridge transfer, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's just tax revenue, I'm saying.
Right,
So,
okay.
just to make you aware.
All right. All right. Anything else?
Not as bad as it could have been.
We've been through
I
worse.
mean, we're at the beginning, so, yeah.
We've been through a lot
It changes a
worse,
lot,
so.
yeah.
All right.
Between now and September.
Okay, do I hear a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
By Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Gatsa. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, item carries. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session? By Commissioner Benavides and by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. To discuss the following 5 items. First item, pursuant to Code Section 551.087 and 551.0712. Item B, pursuant to Code Section 551.0712, as well as item C. On item D, pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A and 2. And item E, pursuant to Code Section 551.0712.